Hey guys, and welcome to the Drukhari Masterclass. I'm Steve.
And I'm Joe.
And a massive thank you to all of you that have signed up for this Drukhari Masterclass. Now this is part of our Masterclass series, and I hope that we're nice and clear for you, both visually and audio based, but we have got a very, I think, action-packed and value-packed masterclass lined up for you. We've been working so hard on this masterclass to really make sure that we've covered absolutely everything that we possibly can. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go over what you're going to expect from this masterclass. But again, this is something that we've had a huge amount of repetitions in with, even before obviously getting pre-orders due to being playtesters, which is absolutely fantastic. It just means we've had a lot of experience to get used to all the units. And also, Joe obviously has got a huge amount of experience prior with Drukhari, so he's got a really good understanding of the types of units, how they play, and my knowledge of Drukhari is based off somebody that plays Drukhari all the time. And myself as an Eldar player, there's so many synergies and crossovers, so we've got a lot to share with you guys today, and I really hope you get a lot out of it. So if you want to head over back to our slides. So today's format for the show is, first of all, what I need you to do is I want you to write in the comments below with what you can, what would be a real achievement from today. So what would it mean to you to be, by the end of this, to get some value out of today? We've got Jake in the chat as well, and what I'll do is I'll throw some questions over to Jake. And at the very end of this, obviously, we'll have a big Q&A session. But yeah, what I want to know right now from you, so comment below, is basically what would make today value? Whether it's one thing that you're really trying to learn from today, let us know. And then Jake, if you feel like there's any good ones, let us know what they are.
Yeah. Currently, obviously, everyone's just saying hello, obviously, saying where they're from. We've got a lot of people from Texas, New Zealand, Denmark. It was a great place. Dublin, Ireland, UK. So yeah, awesome. Good wide range, really.
Fantastic. So yeah, from what can you expect from today's masterclass? Well, obviously, we've got the masterclass itself, and we've broken that down into 4 parts. So we're going to be covering each of those sequentially. Then what we'll do is we'll have a mixture of theory-based stuff like you're seeing today with the slides, but we've also got the camera from the top down and also the side cam. So you'll be able to see some of the models on the table. We can start to move things around. So if you have a really good question and you want us to cover it, then you can let us know and we can show you how that actually interacts on the table. So we can do a real mix today of theoretical and also practical. Then we're going to give you a quick glimpse into the Academy, and I always like to be transparent about that. Obviously that is or pretty much the only Warhammer 40k based course, and it's our portal of just kind of knowledge that we've put together, and it's all about building confidence, clarity, and also cultivating community. And that's kind of really what we want to help people to understand. So what that basically means to you is, you know, if you're somebody that is getting to grips with an army or even getting to grips with 40k in general, the course is designed so that you can skip out all the kind of time it takes to watch millions of battle reports, listen to loads of people. What the Academy does is it really allows you to focus in. And it's the course that I would have wanted when I first, started picking up 40k back for that first time. My background's in teaching, and it's something that I really wanted to bring to the industry, as I really felt like there was a gap in the market there. So yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into that, and I can tell you about that later on. And obviously, if you have any questions whatsoever, you can let us know. And it's something that we're constantly evolving. We've had students go away, come back. We've had students that have stayed literally from day one. It's been absolutely incredible. So, and we've also had students come, do really, really well, and then leave and go on to do other things as well, which is absolutely brilliant. So it's all about that kind of journey, where you are, and the Vanguard Tactics Academy will help you get to that next stage in that progress. And then finally, at the end of the Academy, we're going to Q&A with myself and Joe. So if you have any questions whatsoever for either me, Joe, or even Jake, you can throw them in. That's not a problem. So, learning outcomes of today. So hopefully, by the end of this masterclass, you have a really good understanding of not only how to improve your 40k gameplay, but you're also going to understand the unique faction of the Drukhari, the units, regardless of who you're playing and what you're against, right?
Oh yeah, so like the army always plays the same every time you put it on the table. It's all about just like mastering and knowing, not just what it does, but you'd like learn to know how it's going to interact with the board, how it's going to interact with terrain, how it's going to interact with your opponent's armies, and what you can do to get the most out of that.
Yeah, so it's all about creating sort of that utility, isn't it? And I think Drukhari have got so many different ways. It is one of the most complex books we've seen to date, which is why obviously we wanted to put this together. So let's quickly have a look. For all of you who are new potentially and you're not sure what Vanguard Tactics is all about, well, as I mentioned earlier, we specialise in teaching Warhammer 40k to help people get the most out of their hobby, build community, and help people escape their day-to-day stresses. And obviously we've been in lockdown for a long time, and I think one of the strongest things about the Academy is really, allowing people to stay sort of razor sharp with our weekly clinics, our modules, our lessons, our pre-recorded and our live videos that obviously are in our community and on the website.
Yeah, we've also got a really good and dedicated community tabletop simulator group, like a game. They have a games night twice a week, and they've got their own leagues running. So it's always students playing against students. Yeah. Just being part of the community, loads of people that have just found value from it. Because, say for instance, we're in bed, but there's people around the world that are still awake. They put a question into the community, and someone will answer it with a genuine,
good response.
And
it's because obviously we're a team. Yeah. We're a team together. So it's all about training, and it's a different mindset to maybe going to your local club where someone's trying to beat you. We're in a cultivated community where essentially everybody's trying to help each other to be a little bit better. Yeah. Everyone will give you a really good response and a really good idea. And that's kind of why we developed the Academies, to help our students become incredible players. And obviously we've done that through our structured modules, our tutorials, and again, we're going to show you that. And we've really become the ambassadors of fair play and sportsmanship. So that's a little bit about us. Now, in terms of how this class can hopefully help you, there's different ways to play the games, right, Joe? Yeah. So for you, what is your favourite way to play the game?
I like a narrative game, me.
You like a narrative game?
I'm a guy who likes the fluff, he likes the story, he likes the background, but at the same time, like everyone else, I do enjoy winning.
You do?
Yeah. So
you like a bit of competition?
Yeah.
You like to pit yourselves against the best and see how you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, because for me, that's what it's all about. Yeah. But my favourite thing is the element of play testing or practice, whatever you kind of want to term it. Yeah. But for me, it's about being with my mates, going over tactics and strategies so that I can sort of bring all that together. Yeah. So no matter where you are in your game, whether you're just playing with your mates, whether you're playing a little bit more narratively, maybe you're going to your local club, there's going to be something from today that you can bring to that, okay? So all those different levels, hopefully there'll be some value. So Jake, what is some of the things that people have said that they wanted to get out from today?
So we've got a few where there's been a lot of comments. I found one earlier that I really liked. I'm just going to try and...
Do you want to switch back to camera one?
Yep. So we've got Ryan Denley.
Okay.
He says, I'd like to understand the basic concept of Drukhari. Are they an aggro army that wants to go all in, or do you want to use them as a counter-attacking force? We've got... Sorry, there's so many comments coming in.
That's good.
We're gonna get a lot of those kind of questions because obviously there's a very big existing Drukhari player base. It's already got a great community, but this codex and what it can do is so good. We've got so much fresh blood coming in, and that's what this masterclass is about. Yeah, helping you go through the steps in like a 2-hour process instead of the 6 years of relentless grinding of just playing. So everything that we've learned through playing, you can get to now.
Yeah, like all these things, you guys obviously, if you've signed up for a masterclass, you're here to learn. Hopefully you're open-minded. Yeah. And it's people that are very dogmatic in their views that probably won't get any value out of today. Yeah. So again, you can always learn something, whether you're reconfirming knowledge, or maybe you're acquiring new knowledge, or actually you're having knowledge that you can put straight away into practical application, or knowledge that you're then able to pass on to others and teach. So hopefully there's going to be something for everybody.
Yeah. Speaking of that, obviously we've got a bit of a different view on that one. Chris from Leeds, he says he wants the tips to beat the Drukhari, as his best mate and nemesis is going to be a nuisance with this new codex.
Awesome. Yeah, love that. So we can hopefully show you some of those combinations as well. Okay, cool. Yeah. So do you want to go back to the slides, Jake?
Indeed. There you go.
Now, we've obviously spoke about competitive and what does it mean. Obviously, we like to cover this in every single masterclass because I think it's really important. I want to challenge what competitive means.
Yeah.
And for us, it's not win at any cost. It's not. We're not whack players, okay? We don't try to win at any cost. We don't try and cheat. We don't try and just, break the game because we don't get zero satisfaction from that. Like, literally none. I would hate to play a game if I think, right, I know I'm going to win, or for me, the challenge is the enjoyment.
Yeah, and you always want, like, if your opponent, like, for instance, if your opponent's made, like, a little mistake, like, I wanted to move on to his objective, they're going to do it, but it's a tough experience. It's fine to let that person do that move, because if you win because your opponent forgot something, and you win because your opponent wasn't on top form at that time, like, is that the best victory you can achieve?
No, absolutely not. No, so again, for us, when we're talking about things that are competitive, what we mean is it needs to be effective, it needs to be efficient, and it needs to be enjoyable. And there are 3 E's that we're going to use, and we're always going to look for consistent and repeatable results, okay? So we're going to cover the 4 main ways to play the Drukhari. But first of all, we're going to look at how to find your play style, and then we're going to cover the 4 different ways. And then hopefully by the end of this, you're going to have a bit of an idea of maybe which way you should lean into, okay? So we've got 4 ways, Joe.
Yep.
So take us through the first one.
Resilience.
Resilience. And what sort of units are resilient in this army?
So this is the part of this army, because it's kind of like 3 armies in one, is the homunculus covens. That's your Talos, your Grotesque, your Rax, and your homunculus.
Okay. Yeah. So when we're thinking about resilience, we're thinking about things that are actually quite tough to kill, that stay around on the table for quite a long time. And typically resilience is based on either a high wound count, a high toughness count, or good saves, whether it's feel no pains or invulnerable saves. Yeah. Typically, resilience have also less mobility. That's one way, Games Workshop, because obviously balance the game, is have the more durable be a little bit slower, and the more mobile be a little bit weaker, okay? So that's one way. You've then got the combat. Yeah. And Drukhari do combat so well. And obviously they can do combat with a mixture of, obviously, all of the covens. Yeah. But there's 2 in particular that really specialise, right? Yeah. And that's your covens and your witches. Yeah. And next up, we've got the shooting. So with both the combat and the shooting, they're extremely mobile, aren't they? I would say Drukhari are one of the most mobile armies in the game.
I'd probably say that they are the mobile army of the game.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far, but, I think they're up there, aren't
they? They're up there. They have tricks and abilities. Their transports have got a 14 to 16 kind of inch movement. Yeah. They're getting about.
They're up there with the Eldars of the world, aren't they? Yeah. So, I think Craftworld Eldar, these guys, there's limited options that really beat them for their mobility. So maybe you are right. Maybe they are one of the most mobile ones. Yeah. And then you've obviously got the mixture, where you can kind of blend this stuff together. And we've gone over some of the basics before on our podcast, and in our battle reports, we've shown you different detachments. So we're going to cover all of those 4 different ways to play. But the first thing that we want to cover is extreme. So when we're thinking of a play style, I always like to rate things 1 to 5. Yeah. 1 being probably the least, 5 being the most, and you've kind of got 3 as a bit of an average, okay? So when you're looking at absolutely anything, we need to think about where does it fit. Now you can use any type of characteristic, so shooting. Yeah. So for example, Joe, from 1 to 5, where would you put the witches shooting?
Like a 2 or a 1?
Probably a 1, right? They've just got pistols. Yeah. I mean, they have a gun, so maybe they're not completely, it's not like they're running around with like stones. Yeah. They do have a gun, but it's not like Disintegrator Ravagers, which might be up there at a 4, right? Yeah. So again, it's all about finding out where they currently fit. And the more you play, the more experience you get, the more you talk amongst like-minded people, you're going to have a really good appreciation of where you fit in this parameter of extreme. So, for example, combat, where would you put Incubi?
A 5.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Probably, for their points, they're a 4-5, aren't they? Yeah. They're up there. Now, obviously, you've got to consider, we've got that sort of sweet spot, Because if you go too much into combat, what then you might find is that you either lack in other places or you completely overkill units to the point where you've got so much wasted.
Yeah.
And you want to be, again, efficient. So we don't want wastage, we want efficiency. What we also don't want is the lack of doing something. Yeah. So just because you can just about achieve it based on math hammer or whatever it might be, if you can only just do it, you probably want a little bit more in there, whether you've lost a couple of models before you get there, maybe if you're anything like me, with a few bad dice. So that's where we don't have the redundancy built in. So you kind of want to be in that sweet spot of having a good amount of redundancy. And there's something to be said with really extreme builds.
Yeah.
They can have really good strength on the table if they are completely extreme. Yeah. But extreme builds will typically have a very easy matchups, but then it'll also have some extremely hard counters, right? Yeah, so can you think of an extreme build for the Drukhari?
If you went all in on witches, just went nothing but witches.
Nothing but witches, so maybe double battalion, units of 10, 120 witches on the table, and maybe go, which is the super quick one?
That's your red grief. It's red grief, so you're getting the +2 to your advance.
Combat drugs.
And you get combat drugs to get another +2 to that.
Yeah.
So they're getting around real quick.
Yeah. So again, you could go complete horde, real combat, that's going to be good. And another extreme could just be, maybe 9 Talos and as many Kronos as you possibly could, where if they're not packing strength 8 high damage weapons, they're probably not going to even hurt you because that small arms fire that they have in their list is going to do nothing. So again, you've got to sort of balance this. So when we start to look at the Drukhari army in terms of durability versus mobility, because I think that is one of the biggest questions, and you can work out, shooting versus combat for yourselves, but I've just kind of placed this on the timeline. So we've got mobility on the bottom, 1 to 5, but obviously as you can see at the top, you've got 5 to 1 in terms of durability works the opposite way. Yeah. So for example, your prophets of flesh, this is a unit that can only be wounded on a 1, 2, or 3, can't be wounded on a 1, 2, or 3, providing that they're strength 8 or below.
Yeah.
Now that is really, that makes things like grotesques really durable.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect Talos too much, but it really affects those grotesques. It really affects those racks, which makes them a lot more durable, or maybe the -1 damage trait, that you can take as a coven. Then you've got, obviously just normal covens like Technomancy. They're not quite as durable, but maybe they, not necessarily are any more mobile, but they maybe pack a little bit better of a shooting punch.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've kind of got, where are you sacrificing? You're sacrificing something at any time, and this is where when you start to play with the army, you want to go with a really good idea of this is what my army's trying to achieve, but having in the back of your mind, this is where the army could be weak. Yeah. And then once you know that, you can constantly think, well, yeah, maybe Dark Technomancies is really good on the damage output, but if you're constantly overkilling everything, could you scale that back? Could you then go a little bit for a bit more durability? And these are the things that you need to keep in the back of your mind. And when you're an academy student, we teach you to be a critical thinker. So you're not dogmatic, you're not just, this is what I think is best, you're open-minded. I've swapped between craft worlds, I've swapped between all different types of play styles because of experience through repetitions, okay? So as we've already spoke about how you can get some crazy amount of mobility there. Cabals are kind of in the middle, aren't they? They can have durability with, for example, their vehicles, but you could run Horde Cabalites, couldn't you?
You could run 60 to 120 Cabalite warriors in units of 20, and then just bum rush across the table or put them in deep strike.
Yeah.
So the ability's there.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we've got so many different builds. So the 4 ways to play the army. Joe, take us through them.
So you've got pure Cabal. So that's your Black Heart, Poison Tongue, Flayed Skull, or Obsidian Rose. These are all, like we said, primarily shooting kind of abilities.
Yeah.
Armies. You've got pure Witch Cult, which is Strife, Red Grief, Cursed Blade.
And obviously there are the custom ones as well. Yeah, but we're going to stick to the core trees today mainly.
Yeah, it's easier to look at these from the main ones because the main ones obviously have a relic, a warlord trait, and their own stratagem, whereas the custom builds is all down to personal choice, but you do lose out on a lot as well.
You do, we will touch on some because as I've already mentioned earlier, there are some that might pop up which are quite interesting and we're going to see where they start to fit in. But again, it's in the back of your mind. Is all those other elements worth sacrificing? And that's something that when you do your own analysis, which we're going to show you how to do that later, then obviously you're going to have a bit of a better idea.
Yep. And then you've got the pure homunculus covenants, like we spoke about. You've got the Prophets of Flesh, the Dark Creed, and the Covenant of 12.
Yep.
And then you've got the mixed attachments. There's two. You've got the Real Space Raiders, and you've got the Raiding Force. The Raiding Force is the old one, which was 3 patrols of any mixture, and you get the cost of the patrols cost 0.
Yeah.
So you basically get your points refunded as if you were buying them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the one we're going to cover today mainly is going to be the Real Space Raid, which is the new detachment, which you're going to be seeing a lot. And just so you, for now, we'll cover it now. Minimum requirements on the Real Space Raid is a 1 Archon, 1 Succubus, 1 Homunculus, 1 unit of Cabalites, 1 unit of Witches, 1 unit of Rax.
Yeah.
So it's the full combo.
Yeah, absolutely. No, awesome. So guys, let us know what play style. Not necessarily Cabal. I'm not looking for, do you want to go Cabal, Witch Cult, Homunculus, Coven, or Mix? From those extremes we spoke about earlier, so I'll quickly go back to those. Which out of resilience, combat shooting, or a mixture really appeals to you? Okay, because I want you to start here before you start to look at covens and all that extra elements. So pop in the chat which one you think is best. And while you're doing that, we forgot to do something. So you could go to camera 1, please, Jake. We've got the giveaway. The 2 combat patrol boxes to give away, and also a codex.
Not this one. You'll get a new one, obviously.
Now, throughout, at some point in this masterclass, we've got it later, we're going to reveal who has won.
Yeah.
So what I did earlier is I basically piled all your names out of an email list, and I put in 3 random numbers. And you can see those popping up later. So that'll be on one of the slides we'll cover in a bit. So remember, you could be in for a chance to win one of these.
And if you are starting Drukhari, this is an incredible box as well. Like, this is probably the best Combat Patrol Games Workshop has released to date. It's amazing.
I didn't realise that had 5 incubi in it.
Yeah, you get an Archon, 5 incubi, 10 Cabalite Warriors, a Raider, and a Ravager.
Do you know what? I'm keeping this one.
If you
so there's only going to be 2 winners.
if you bought 3 of these and 3 Venoms, you're flying.
You literally.
Literally everything's flying.
Yeah.
Like, that is the perfect core to a starting army.
Yeah. That is a perfect Cabal and Blades of Hire combo deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, if you wanted to go into the Real Space Raider thing, it's a real simple fix. You buy
1 witch, 1 unit of witches.
Yeah.
Also 1 succubus.
1 witch.
1 homunculus and 1 unit of Rax, and you're good to go. Right, love it. Okay, Jake, what are people thinking? What out of the 4? What do you think from all the comments? Which do you think's popping up the most?
It's mixed. It's a mixed bag.
Okay.
We've got 1 coven and 1 combat-based army.
Okay.
Those people are loving it, but the rest of that is just mixed. I think that's probably the best way to go, really, isn't it?
Cool. Yeah, awesome. And obviously, if you like what we're doing, if you like the content, give the video a like. I can't tell you guys how difficult it is to, obviously I used to be a teacher, and when you've got an audience, you can kind of gauge. And I've been, like, back in my fitness career, I've spoke at some massive events. Yeah. 300-400 people watching, and you can kind of really gauge what people are getting value from, but it's so hard when we're just talking to a camera. So if you like it, let us know. Give us a thumbs up, or just put it in the comments if you're enjoying this, because Jake can let us know. It means we can actually stay on track, or if you're not enjoying it, we can divert, okay? So anyway.
Everyone's loving it so far.
Cool.
Just to give you some insight, so it's all right.
Perfect. No, that's great. That's awesome. Right, do you want to head back to the slides?
We'll go back to the slides.
So first of all, what we always try to get all of our students to do is what we call a SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
And this is something that you're probably familiar with, okay? But it's something that is used in business. It's used in, for example, a lot of sporting performances. Now, my background, I studied sport performance at university, and this was something that we had to do a lot of when we're looking at teams, whether we're pitched against another team, we're looking at what the strengths are, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And this has been absolutely ingrained into me as an athlete, and myself, my own performance in my previous sports. So again, I found this so easy to translate into 40K. So for example, when we look through the Cabal, so we're going to focus just on Cabal, mainly mobile shooting army.
Yeah.
We're Obviously, they get access to Blades of Hire, which are
your incubi, your scourges, your mandrakes, and beasts.
Cool. Yeah. So they are what obviously you get access to as well, or you can sort of dip into without breaking your cabal. But typically the strengths of the cabal, we've picked 4, okay? Yeah. Now there's going to be more. There is going to be more, but we thought we'd just focus on 4. And what I want you guys to do at home is literally big A4 page, SWOT, and then equals, okay? Yeah. So we're going to formulate a SWOT analysis. So when you're reading through your codex, you can go through it yourself and obviously let this kind of lead you, let this guide you. So the strengths of the cabal, go for our first one. In these read top down. So the first strength will also have a weakness, and then it will have an opportunity and a threat. Okay, so your strength is like what your codex is giving you. Your weakness is also telling you what's the counter of that in terms of, like I said, if it's really durable, maybe it's lacking mobility. Maybe it's really good at shooting, maybe it's lacking combat. And your data sheet is literally telling you this. The opportunities is what your book has options in. So whether it's warlord trait, stratagems, other units, things you can consider. Threats are what your opponent can do to you to stop you from functioning. Warlord traits, relics, stratagems, mission-specific things, maybe points cost. And then the result is, after weighing up all those options, what's a result you need to consider when it comes to your army list, okay? Yeah. So talk us through the first one, Joe.
So the first one is vehicles in the Drukhari, in the cabals, have a high AP and high damage weapons.
Okay, cool.
So that's your Dark Lance and your Disintegrators. The Dark Lance is a single shot, strength 8, -4, D3 +3. This is your big anti-tank gun.
Yeah.
Or your Disintegrators, which is 3 shots, strength 5, -3, flat 2 damage. So this is a kind of your elite killer kind of unit.
Yeah. So you've got 2 options there. Good damage output for killing, dreadnoughts. Yeah. And then obviously you've got the sort of more great thing at killing those Space Marines, intercessors, right? Weaknesses, though, of these typical units, and obviously these are on your boats mainly, like your vehicles, like your Raiders, your Ravagers, your planes, or units that are inside those, because they can obviously shoot with blasters, but if you're in a vehicle, you do not get auras.
No.
You don't get any rerolls from that. So what is the main problem with these units?
Is that they do not have the core keyword, so they don't get any rerolls from your Archons.
Yeah, so not anymore. That's changed. So no rerolls ones to hit, no reroll ones to wound. No. Okay, so what's an opportunity there?
Is if you take Cabal of the Blackheart, they give each unit, when it shoots or fights in combat, 1 reroll to hit.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That is absolutely awesome. Yeah. So threats?
Threats, you are looking at, you're giving up, bring it down, like 10 plus points, because everything in your army in a cabal is majoritively going to be in a transport. Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of those. And if you have your planes on the table, is that it's a high target environment for your opponent.
Yeah. So yes, you can do great damage output, but it potentially the expense of giving away a lot of secondary points. Yeah. And obviously there's other threats to that as well. Maybe it's -1 damage or something like that. So the result of this is, when we start to look at the numbers on the dice, if you're running a Ravager or a plane, where you're getting more than 1 shot, but more than 3, the best thing that you can do is probably take you're designating a purpose to that Ravager. Yeah. Okay, and this is where we start to get that efficiency in, okay? So for example, on a Ravager, I would have that personally as equipped with Dark Lances. Yeah. Because if you go to, I'm going to try and show you, me rolling dice always fails, so I'm going to hope this doesn't.
Do you want me to go to a different camera?
Top down, please. Top down. So imagine we're getting 1 free reroll, remember? Yeah. So how do we maximise that? How do we make that efficient? Well, ideally, when we're hitting on 3s, we've got a 66% chance. Yeah. So if I roll this correctly based on average, I should hit twice and miss once.
You don't do averages when you roll dice. But... Oh, there we go.
Average.
Average. First
right,
time.
so I get to re-roll the 1. Yeah. Okay. Look at that, 3 hits.
You actually just rolled
the
most perfectly statistic roll ever.
I know.
When the time demands.
And that was live. That was live, guys.
Every time we record these things, it's like it was like 12, 13 takes. So and then in the end, we're not going to roll dice in examples anymore. And he's like throwing that to the winds now.
So that's your
Yeah.
We've got currently, based on your averages, 100% hit rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say we had disintegrators.
Yeah.
Okay. So I get 9 shots now.
Oh dear.
But now I only get to re-roll 1 dice.
Yeah.
So I did actually roll just below average. I should have hit 6 times and I should have missed 3. Yeah. But again, I can only re-roll 1. Okay. So I've got 6 hits.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking at a 75% efficiency,
yeah.
rather than before where the Dark Lance is 100%. So if we've got 1 gun, actually it flipped reverses.
Yeah.
So if you're running a Raider, you get 1 hit roll. So again, the Raider he's actually better with a disintegrator cannon.
Yeah.
Because obviously you get your 3 hits.
Oh my God, he's done it again.
You re-roll the miss, 100% efficiency, right? So that's just a little bit there on some practicality of weapon loadouts. So when you're thinking about this stuff, this is how you build in efficiency. So hopefully, guys, you're with me in the chat. Let me know. Just give me a big why if you're with me in terms of my efficiency, okay? Mind blown. Your mind is blown that I rolled average.
Yeah.
So he's finally done it.
Yeah, can't believe it, guys.
Finally growing up. I'm becoming a man.
I can roll dice. I'm not letting you have these back again.
Oh.
They're now mine.
They're mine. They're the colour of my army.
Don't care.
When it comes to the big leagues, Stephen Block steps up.
Wow.
They're mine.
They match the wall.
They do. They're VT. I'll scratch these little symbols off and just put VT on. Right, okay, anyway, so hopefully you understand now like how powerful and just making a slight tweak on a gun can make a unit super efficient, okay? Right, next up.
The speed and mobility from transports and vehicles to reach objectives.
Okay, very nice. But what is the problem with that? Is there any problems with that?
There's a lack of objectives secured.
Yeah.
Because the boats can get you there, but the boats themselves are not objective secured.
And you can't disembark after you've moved.
No.
So you can only ever put 1 vehicle, or maybe 2 vehicles if you've got lots, on an objective.
Yeah.
So yes, you can get there, but what is the opportunity that we have?
Is that it can be filled with objective secured troops. So for instance, a Raider can have 2 5-man squads or 1 big 10-man squad.
Awesome. Threat to that?
It's armies with a lot of objective secured units, or if they're a very fast, quick, mobile army with big units, they can wrap those transports so the units cannot get out.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you. Can you go down to can you get me 10 Cabalites and can you pass me a Raider?
Yeah, be gentle with it.
Thank you. If you can go to the top down, please, Jake.
I've only got
I'll go get you
5. I need 5 more, Jake.
I'm going to get you another 5.
Or should we use in the middle? Oh no, because you're using the side camera, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, we're so...
So you can head to the side cam, please.
Okay. Might have to zoom in a little bit. Oh, in. There we go.
Lovely. Okay, cool. That's it. Little bit out, please. That's right. Lovely. Okay, cool. So what you can see here, guys, is model positioning is super clutch. So actually what I've done here is I've placed my model. Now remember we measure from the hull, so the tip there to the back here. Now obviously when you disembark, you have to disembark wholly within 3.
Yeah.
So the great thing about this is that what we can start to do is either we can use the stratagem, the desperate breakout. So then what we can do is actually disembark up to 6 inches either way. But now what we can do is when this vehicle explodes, we're going to bait our opponent and then we can jump out wholly within 3 inches and we can now claim this objective with 5 models there and all potentially 5 models here. So every time you're placing a unit, any sort of vehicle down whatsoever, you want to make sure if you can, as you can see, we're holding 2 objectives right there, okay? If you wanted to, you could probably put it there so it's holding the back, remember you measure from the hull, is holding this objective. This tip currently isn't, because until you disembark, a model, even if it could reach both, can only hold 1 objective. A unit, however, because it's got more than 1 model, could actually hold more than 1. Yeah. So the unit could potentially even spread out and go across 2 units like that, and you could actually put the other one like that. So there are loads of different combinations and ways that you can start to steal objectives off your opponent, because maybe they've got that one aggressor sat there, or even a whole 5-man unit of aggressors. But as soon as that raider's gone, then obviously you can just jump out. So making sure that you're placing your vehicles with OBSEC models in, or it could be a nice little combination of, for example, 5 witches, or maybe 5 Cabal, we're talking about Cabal, 5 Cabalites, and also 5 Incubi.
What you could do as well, because I did this to Jack in the game yesterday, because obviously Raiders now have a transport capacity of 11. So you could put in your Archon. So for instance, if your opponent takes out, we'll use the racks just as an example.
I might need to stop you there.
Yeah?
You're going to say about heroic intervention?
Yeah.
I don't think you can heroic intervene when you get out of a transport. If it explodes.
No.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you there.
No.
So,
I
realise
that one.
You are going to have to backtrack. But putting a character down on an objective is obviously another great way, because then it just means that both of the units have to then be killed before the character's killed. So,
Would you mind just elaborating on the word baiting your opponent? Just had someone ask that in the chat.
So the bait is currently saying... So imagine we've got, if you go back to the side cam again, these guys, these Cabalites, we're going to say are currently in the Raider, okay? And I'm happy to sacrifice the Raider, because currently at the moment he's getting me 1 objective, all right? So we're going to say he's over this objective here, so he's currently holding this one. I actually want my opponent to kill it, because then what they could easily do... You're just getting 2 models for me, Joe?
Yeah.
Just 2 Terminators will do, or something.
I've got 2
aggressors?
2 aggressors.
Perfect. So, what I want them to do, if he just moves 2 aggressors onto that objective, if I just put that out of shot.
No, it's all in.
So, imagine it, the 2 aggressors are there. He's currently taking that off me.
Yeah.
Okay? So the bait is like, look, there's this nice juicy Raider, why don't you kill it? And the great thing here is then, when you get out, there's only 2 aggressors there potentially, and the bait would be, yes, you can blow this up, that's fine. I can use my Desperate Breakout 6 inches, and then what I could do is get out 6 inches and completely move block this unit of aggressors here, so I can get out within 6 of this point, so we'll say that's 6 inches. And then the other unit of Cabalites can just chill just there. So the aggressors shoot and blow this up. This unit of Cabalites can get out 6. Stupid tough getting in the way. And now this unit of Cabalites, so the aggressor unit can only charge this unit, so they're going to kill them in combat. But it doesn't matter, because actually I've now gained 2 objectives. So in an objective secured game, that could be the difference of maybe 10 to 15 points.
Yeah.
All right? Whereas if they would have just moved the aggressors onto the objective and not shot the Raider, they would have actually controlled it, and they would have stopped me from also controlling this one as well.
Yeah.
So that's what we call a bait. You're baiting your opponent. Come on, come and do this for me. I want you to do it. And they take the bait, and all of a sudden... So it's not a gotcha moment, because it's actually... It was your decision to kill their model.
Yeah.
It's not a gotcha moment. That was an understanding of that interaction that's currently happened. I'm going to give you this, but if you take it away from me, I'm probably going to gain this instead. And a great player is somebody that can sort of set this up. And what we call this in the academy is you would be playing my game.
Yeah.
You're reacting to what I'm doing. I'm telling you, you can kill this, Joe. And when I'm giving you units to kill, rather than you just taking what you want from me, I'm going to win this game.
Yeah.
And it's all about setting the tempo and setting the speed, okay? So hopefully that gives you some ideas here. So we'll quickly whiz through the rest of these. So vehicles have a 5 up and runnable save.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they've got a lower toughness and a lower armor save. So what are some opportunities that you can do with your Ravagers or Raiders?
Yeah. You have stratagems that allow you to deep strike through the webway, or you can use the Screaming Jet stratagem for units that fly, or you can just spend the command points and outflank them.
Yeah, or you can go Poison Tongue,
Yeah.
and you can redeploy. So if you feel like your opponent's set up to shoot your Ravage off the table turn 1, maybe if we're on like the long edge here, and they've set up so that they've put all their eradicators on one corner to match off against your Ravagers, you can redeploy those 3 Ravagers to the other side of the table.
Yeah.
So maybe your damage output isn't as good because of Blackheart. So again, this is what you need to think critically about. If you're never getting your rerolls because of Blackheart, because your transports or your vehicles are always being killed, maybe Poison Tongue, the redeploy would be much better for you.
Yeah.
Because if they're safe, at least they're shooting. You know, they might not be 100% efficient, but at least they're not 0% efficient if they're dead. So again, it's really a good idea to critically think about these things when you're looking at a codex. What could that give me, and what situations? And when you're playing a game, you don't list tailor. You tailor your list based on previous experiences. Okay, not I'm playing against Blood Angels at the weekend, guys. What's good against Blood Angels? Well, just 1 million disintegrator cannons. That's just cheating.
Yeah.
That's going to give your opponent a really feel bad. Play the game with your current list. Think about what you could have done differently.
Yeah.
Okay? Next up, you've got obviously great mobile gun line, fast moving, combat armies, however, can, as we said earlier, can wrap and trap you. Okay?
Yeah.
And what we mean by that is they could wrap that raider that we showed you earlier, and obviously when you disembark within 3, if they've got a big unit that's completely surrounded it, not when they kill the raider, maybe they kill all the units inside as well. Okay? So what's the opportunity though?
Well, one thing, very quickly, we didn't cover the threats or the results on the last one.
Sorry.
So, using the point strung, so the threat on that one is powers and abilities that remove or reduce your invulnerable save or your save. So Death Hex and
Jinx.
Null Zone and Jinx.
Yep.
So what you can consider is taking the Relic, the Helm of Spite, and any character can take it, and that allows you to deny 1 psychic power turn as if you were a Psyker. So it means that you have to be more considerate and think about what powers you're going to stop.
Yeah, love it.
And then into the next one. So the opportunities of being a fast-paced but easily wrapped army is you can take Blades of Hire units like Mandrakes or Scourges, stuff like that can screen for you.
Yeah, so they can either move block, and then you can take your Incubi to countercharge.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can have this mobile gun base, which is putting out most of the damage. And if you think about the probably 80-20 principle, you want 20% of those other additional units to protect the main 80% of your workload.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 80% of your army is gunboats, shooting, scourges. You could add in as a screen, and also their utility is move blocking. Mandrakes, move blocking, doing actions. Incubi, backfield, countercharging. So there's loads of really good combinations there, and you need to have a really clear identified purpose for that unit. If you're going, Mandrakes do incredible shooting, you're probably not playing Mandrakes in the right way. No. They've got a little bit, but you're not relying on it. No. I'm not setting up to the table and thinking, Mandrakes are going to do work for me this turn. I'm not even considering that role as a shooting unit. I'm using that unit. What actions can this unit doing? Where can I put them on the table? And that's what you need to consider, is what is the utility of that unit?
Yeah, so the threat to to those units when you bring them in is units that can fire indirectly.
Yeah.
So whirlwinds, basilisks, thunderfire cannons, stuff like that. Even Elder with Dark Reapers.
Because they can remove those screens, letting those Howling Banshees run on through and just kill whatever. They can kill your countercharge before you can countercharge.
Yeah.
And then they can wrap up the rest of your army and kill it. So, but how do we get around that? What's the result?
So you take a dedicated close combat Archon. You take the Master one who gets to fight twice. He's got some decent close combat relics. He comes with a power sword and basic. He's got a Warlord trait that makes people fight last. And then you can also include things like Incubi to support him to protect your vehicles. Because
they'll clear off the units that are trying to wrap those units.
And the other option is planes. So you've got the Razor Wing or the Void Raven Bomber. Two great flyers in this army. They're fast, quick, and they've got some deadly guns. And they are perfectly designed, especially the Void Raven Bomber. And if you take the disintegrators on the Razor Wing, they'll pick up those little 5-man squads that kind of sit on objectives for your opponent.
Or so let's say you're playing against Guard. And they've got mortar teams. This guy flies over, and killing a mortar team might not seem like a very good trade, But if you're going over and removing all of their indirect fire, or maybe you've got Dark Lances on there with Blackheart, and maybe you're going in against, you know, that Whirlwind, you can pick that Whirlwind up, you can pick that Hydra up, you can pick that whatever indirect type of gun it is with your plane. Brilliant, it can go over. That then keeps your Mandrake safe to keep screening, it keeps your Incubi safe to still keep them as a counter charge in case those Bullgrins start to come over. So again, you need to think about what units you have, because you've got this constant play of you can do something, I can react. And I want to make sure that I've got these options. If you bring A, I've got B. If you've got C, I've got D. And that's how you need to start to think about your list build, okay? I think Razor Wings, they're going to be back. We haven't seen a huge amount of them recently, but I really like, especially with that Dark Lance. So we've got a bit of a list idea for you. Joe, give us, now this could be anything, couldn't it? It's pretty generic. Talk us through the just main constructs here.
Yeah, so you've got HQs, 2 Archons, because this is going to be a battalion, so you need 2 HQs, and that's what they've got. You can spend the points to upgrade one to a Master Archon. You can customize them for either CP regen or for combat. Then you've got your core, which is your troops, your 4 units of Cabalite Warriors, all with blasters, so really benefiting from if you're going to go Blackheart, that reroll 1s, or you've got loads of sprinter weapons, so you go Poison Tongue. Then, like I said, we've got the elites, you've got the Incubi there.
Counter
charges. Then you've got fast attack, 2 units of 5 Scourges with blasters, with 4 blasters in one, 4 haywire on the other. These can be used to take out tanks, but they're also small 5-man units that can drop down, screen, do actions like your scramblers kind of
thing. Engaged in all fronts. Yeah. Ravagers, we've spoke about those, 3 of those, 9 shots with, like we said, pretty much you should get about 90% efficiency out of 3, which is absolutely incredible. You've got the Razorwing jet fighters to go and pick off any of their units, those 2-man units that are like the servitors or the combat veterans that they want to do actions with. You can get in the back lines, get you engaged in all fronts, and then obviously you've got immense amount of transports there to keep everything else locked up nice and safe. So all their small arms fire is not going to touch the army because everything is safe in a vehicle. So you're not only combining a little bit extra mobility, but also with a little bit of durability as well. So I think it's a nice, well-rounded Cabal list. It's very quick, it's very fast, it's got a little bit of combat, but mainly you're doing all the work in the shooting phase there. So if you're liking a mobile gun line, this could be a base to go from. And then obviously as you're playing, as you're getting more experience, as you're playing in your local meta, like Joe's local meta is literally me and Jake. So Joe's list is going to look a little bit different. Joe is literally going to take anything that stops combat because I love combat. So Joe's local meta, and obviously your local meta could be your local events you go to, local tournaments, may look a little bit different to us. So again, you need to make sure that you're not tailoring to your opponent, but you're having a good idea of what you're likely to come up against, so you've got an answer for everything. Is there any questions on Cabals at the moment? What's the chat saying at the moment, Jake?
Not so much questions about that, just saying obviously some people just turned up, really enjoying it. Someone did actually ask, it's more a rules related question if you're all right with this one. So if I'm
go back to camera 1.
Oh yeah. If I'm using the poison tongue, I presume that's what it means, and a unit of 10 is killed to 3, so 3 models remaining, could you use the stratagem to redeploy the surviving models?
Look, the stratagem is done for the redeploy at the beginning of the first turn of the game. So it basically means that you deploy your army, then you use the stratagem, or and then you deploy your armies, then your opponent roll off, and for instance,
to see who's going first.
If you win and you've deployed in the best, most advantaged way you can, you're fine. Or if your opponent's done something you weren't expected, then you can redeploy to take advantage of that. Or if you roll off and you lose and your opponent's going first, you're like, okay, I'm going to pick up these units and put them in a much safer place. There is a stratagem, for instance, if you've got a 3-man squad, like you said, that have been wounded, and you could put that unit into a transport, and then you can use the swift outflanking stratagem, which allows you to, if that transport's on the edge of the table, at the end of the movement phase, it can be removed and be put into
strategic reserve,
and then come on next turn. So there are ways around
keeping them safe.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's good. I just thought I'd ask another one quickly. Obviously, more so fix, obviously, with the Cabal theme you've got there. What are the thoughts on Trueborn, Cabalite Trueborn?
So what do Trueborn get, Joe?
So you get a unit of Trueborn. You get 1 unit for every Master Archon you have in your army. You can have 1 Master Archon for each detachment. So if you run the 3 patrols, you could essentially have 3 Master Archons, 3 units of Trueborn.
Yeah.
A Trueborn unit is a 2-point upgrade per model on a unit of Cabalites. It increases their ballistic skill to 2+, and they ignore all shooting modifiers. So they're always hitting on 2s.
Cool.
But they have the same loadout as normal Cabalite warriors.
Very nice. Yeah.
So
that means if you advanced, then you don't care.
No.
As long as you've got assault weapons, obviously. As long as you can legally shoot the weapon, you will ignore that. Obviously, if you're firing into a unit with dense cover, maybe they got one of those rules where if you're so many inches away, you're -1 to hit, they just ignore it, okay? So again, you need to consider, is it worth it? So maybe in this type of list, you might go 10 in a Raider, and you give that unit a Dark Lance and 2 blasters. So they're getting that +1 to hit. So then, yes, you'd still get the modifier, well, you'd actually ignore the modifier for moving and heavy shooting.
Because the units inside the transport suffer the same as what the transport is suffering from when it moves. So if it advances, the guys inside count as advancing, but because you ignore all modifiers, then you're back to hitting on 2s anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, like if it advanced and there's a heavy weapon in there, you probably wouldn't be able to shoot that one because you can't advance and shoot. It's not a modifier; it just takes it away. So
it's still, it could be quite nice again with that free reroll as well. If you're in a transport, again, if you've got 3 blaster shots, it's very similar to having a Ravager on the table. So nice little option, I think. Okay, so let's have a little look at the Witch Cult. We're about halfway through, so we need to pick up the pace a bit. And talking about picking up the pace. We're talking about witches. So we'll go through the strengths of the witches. Now you kind of guys have got the idea of this. We can go through this in a little bit more detail. So we've got strengths, high speed and mobility, right? What's the problem?
It relies on getting into combat.
Because there's no shooting.
No.
Apart from a few Reavers that might have a couple of blasters, it's very much combat orientated. So it has to be there. It has to get somewhere. Opportunities?
It has advance and charge turn 2.
Advance and charge. But you're only getting that from turn 2 because your power's from pain. So really then, if we're looking at this, that gives us the opportunity to either use transports to make sure we can keep those units safe, and obviously that is the problem. With this is those indirect fires we spoke about earlier, or obviously your threat you've analysed here is Overwatch. So they need to make that combat in order for it to be successful. So what's the result that you can think about?
You can take Cult of Strife. They have a stratagem which ignores Overwatch. But there's also, you can use transports. Send those in first. They can soak up the Overwatch. Or using terrain. Charging through breachable walls so your opponent can't even shoot you.
So it's all about model positioning. And you've got the mobility to get there. And that's where you can use those combat drugs to go for a little bit extra movement maybe. So you can go, I can tuck into that building there to make sure I'm completely obscured, to charge through that. So yeah, I like it. So there's different options there. You can see the strategies. You might not go the Strife, but you might go Red Grief, because Red Grief reroll charges as well.
It's Red Grief reroll charges, and they get +2.
So you're getting a little bit of extra reliability in that side of things as well, so which is quite nice. Okay, another strength, obviously, you get a 4+ invulnerable save in combat, but your weakness is it's only a 6+ invulnerable save in shooting.
That does go up to a 5+ on turn 4, but you need to be getting the work done earlier than that.
And again, you can start to look at here opportunities. You can go +1 toughness. You can get that +2 move to get you, use terrain. Really using terrain with witches is the way forward. And obviously, like mass firepower is going to take these ladies down, unfortunately. But
And
transports.
Then, again, the results is using those transports, using them to soak up Overwatch.
No, I really like that. Okay, so other strengths, lots of close combat attacks, little to no shooting is obviously their weakness.
Can take aircraft. Because you can only take Ravagers in Cabal. So one of the ways of, like we spoke about before, using the planes to pick up those annoying units, clear screens for you. Stuff like that. So, and then, because your biggest threat is going to be units that don't need line of sight.
Yeah.
Because you need to use that terrain when you're moving around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice, like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, and then I've got the result for that one is once you get into combat, you need to make sure that you've got Shardnet and Impalers in your squad. Keep your opponent locked into combat with you. Kill in your opponent's combat phase, so then you can move and charge in.
And also the other thing there is if you're only going to take one, you need to be really hot on which model you remove, and also model positioning. Because remember, if for example you're removing all your other models and you realise that maybe in their counterpunch you've left your Shardnet at the back, and all of a sudden that's going to be outside of an inch. So you always need to make sure that Shardnet is at the front line. You should probably think about your witch unit when you're actually running them on the table, leading with the Shardnet. The Shardnet must remain within an inch, within engagement range, to keep the enemy unit there. Because if that is your last model, you have to keep it there, okay? If it's left at the back and you haven't really considered it, so what I would do is when you're getting out of a transport, Jake, if you can go to the close cam and you can pass me a witch, there's just 5 witches would be great.
5.
The side cam.
Yep.
5 witches. And there's your Shardnet.
Cool. So the first thing that I would do is get in a habit of, guys, is when you've got your 5 witches, you measure out your 3 inches disembark with your Shardnet first of all. So let's say these aggressors are over here that I want to get tuck into. I lead with this lady here, okay? So that's my first one right there. The others then can get placed behind. I'll just move this out the way so you can see. So I lead with this model, okay? Everybody else can go behind her. She leads the way because, again, this is the model that needs to make sure she ends within engagement range of this unit. Because even in their counter punches, let's say they're like this, fighting through a friendly model, if you accidentally remove them, then obviously you're going to be in a bit of bother. So, again, you really need to make sure that this one here is that model that you lead with, okay? Because these can die and remove, and you're fine. However, if she's at the back and all of a sudden you remove these, you're no longer in combat. And obviously when it comes the Space Marines' turn, they can just shoot you because you would have already attacked because you would have fought first. Okay, so lead with that model. Top tip. Yeah.
So on the next one, strengths. There's a decent amount of objectives secured. The core unit in this army, the Witches, is a troops unit and its objectives secured. Unlike the Cabals, where you rely solely on like little 5-man units in lots of transports, like your Witches are always going to be out. Like out doing stuff. The weakness is that the OBSEC units always want to be charging, fighting, doing stuff. You do not want these guys sat on objectives.
No.
So use your cheap transports on your opportunities and leave those on your backline objectives to kind of hold off, because you could buy a transport for every unit. Or it's just every unit you've bought, put in a transport. They're super cheap. Even those little Venoms can just sit and screen out, stop people coming in your backline.
So many people are focusing on using their objective secured troops in their backfield, but it's actually where you want them is in the middle. Because objective secured rule is only going to come up when you're up against something without it. Because if you both don't have it, it doesn't matter. It comes down to amount of models. But that objective secured rule is so strong, you need to make sure they're fighting in the middle of the table. So again, you could have a Raider loaded up with 2 units of 5. What you could do, like we showed you earlier with the Cabalites, 5 could charge, 5 could stay. The Raider could also stay on that objective. So they've got to get through the Raider, which could move block the Witches, and then the Witches could then also be just tucked behind that, okay? And again, this is where you want to think about terrain. You want to make sure that what you're doing is if you go to side cam again, putting your Raider literally tucked up against a ruin there, which is blocking line of sight. So when you disembark, you can disembark 5 Witches, so let's assume these are Witches or any other unit, just inside and on the objective here, so you're kind of hiding, so they can stay on that. I'll just put them around there so you guys can see. Don't know why he's not. There's I think a tuft which is unfortunately killing me. So you could have 5 Witches which are behind line of sight. The Raider, they also need to kill, and then the other 5 witches, as we had earlier, can go off and deal with this aggressor unit or insert, whatever it might be. So again, using terrain there, get right up against it. So even if that Raider explodes, it's fine.
Yeah.
You can jump that unit out behind terrain, and that's a really good technique. Cool, love it.
Okay.
So the Witch Cult,
Yep.
typical archetype build here. Couple of succubuses.
Yep. So you can have a master, you can have a basic one, you could put Lilith in there if you go Cult of Strife.
Yep.
You put Jar in there.
Oh, yeah.
Bit of flavour, bit of spice. You
Or
know?
you go triple succubus.
Or you go triple succubus.
Because there are so many combos.
Yeah, like the succubus now is an incredibly versatile, customizable character.
Yeah.
And she'll get a lot of work done for you, especially for a character that's under like 80 points.
Yeah.
So good now.
Yeah.
Then you've got 10 units of, not 10, 4 units of 10 witches. Right, so those are going to be going in those raiders. You know, they're going to get a lot of work done. Being 10-man squads, they really benefit from stratagems, buffs, and upgrades.
Yeah.
Your elites, you've got 3 units of incubi.
Yep.
Because another hard-hitting close combat unit.
Yeah.
Mandrakes.
And later on, we're going to show how they pair together really, really well.
And then you've got mandrakes, your screening units, jumping on objectives in the middle of the board, stopping your opponents from getting banners early game.
This unit's great as well to have in your backfield.
Yeah.
That could be doing actions for you, so you can move, you can be aggressive with the rest.
Yeah.
Cool.
2 5-man units of Hellions. These guys are wicked fast, and they are a lot more durable than they used to be, and they do hit really hard.
Yep.
Reaver jet bikes as well, really quick. Like they auto advance 8, so they can get across the board. That's your kind of.
And there's pairing stratagems between the Hellions and the Reavers, right?
There's a stratagem which you have to have a unit of Reavers and a unit of Hellions within 12 inches at the start of your movement phase. Both those units get +1 to their movement, and they get to re-roll their hits in combat.
Yep.
So
again, great for move blocking.
Yeah.
Perfect unit for that. You could always put a blaster in there. Brilliant.
Yeah. And then you've got the obligatory transports.
Yeah.
4 raiders, 3 venoms. The
So-
venoms are for the incubi.
Yep. And also your HQs could go in any of those options, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, cool. So, homunculus covens.
Yeah. The
2 down, 2 to go, Joe.
So, strengths is the entire homunculus covens, apart from the vehicles, so your monsters, infantry characters, all have a 5+ feel no pain, which means after you fail your armor save or your invulnerable save, you then get to take a save of a 5+ to ignore damage. Very, very strong.
Yep. Weakness, though?
Don't have much of a save.
No. So typically, the Kronos and the Taos are probably a bit better.
Yeah, they've got
but we're
3+.
speaking generally about the covens.
So
okay?
your Rax, your Homunculus, and your Grotesques, 6+ save. They get a 6+ invulnerable save, which later on becomes a 5+. So, like, it doesn't take much to get through those armor, basically.
Yep, opportunities though, so there's loads of different ways to increase the durability. You've got, for example, the Prophets of Flesh, which means you can only be wounded on a 4+, providing that they're not more than strength 8.
Yep.
Is that right, or is it if they're
strength? I would check the exact wording so we can. So, has a strength characteristic of 8 or more.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But it's still really, really good, especially on things like Rax and Grotesques.
Yeah. It doesn't really affect your Talos.
No.
Because they're going to be strength 8 if they're wounding them on 3s anyway.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't affect the Talos whatsoever. But there's other ways that, for example, if you're going Rack or Grotesque heavy, Prophets is great.
Yeah.
But you also can go for -1 damage.
Yeah, they're called the Artists of Flesh.
Yeah.
They reduce. It's a special coven.
Yeah.
So like we said earlier, we talk about like the ones that really stand out. They reduce all damage by 1.
Probably, in my opinion, one of the top tier ways to run Coven. I would do that because I really like knowing my numbers. And it straight away shuts down 100% efficiencies on anything that's damage 2.
Yeah.
So it's going to cut it literally in half.
Especially on those racks. And like damage 2's become really popular at the moment because of units like intercessors, stuff like that, they're everywhere. So if your opponent starts hitting your racks with a damage 2 gun, you'd have to take 2 5+ saves, which means that he's probably going to die. Cutting that in half and giving them 1 in 3 chance of surviving, really good.
It's essentially like having, because the Grotesques have 4 wounds, so obviously against 2 damage, and there's a lot of 2 damage in the game. I'd say it's one of the most common damage types in the game, especially at volume. And because you can take units up to 5 or 6 with the Grotesques, so quite large units, they get 4 wounds each. So it's typically against a unit with 2 damage, it's essentially like having 8 wounds.
Yeah.
Okay? You just need. They're going to have to put so much more in to really achieve that, and then you get that feel no pain on top as well. So it's absolutely incredible. Yeah. Now, threats, though, obviously anything that can ignore invulnerable saves or anything stops you from having that feel no pain. But again, we go back to two things, really. Obviously, you've got the Helm of Smite, which can stop those or potentially deny. Or obviously, you can go Dark Creed. There's a stratagem to target those pesky characters that are probably taking away those aura benefits, right? Cool. Love it. Next one.
Talos have high AP and high damage in combat and shooting. These are the real workhorse of the Homunculus Covens. Like I think you can get the most out of them. Their weakness is anything that reduces damage or has an invulnerable save.
So they've got two types of weapons, one which is damage 2, but the other one which we really like is flat damage 3. It's the Power Fist version, basically. The threat is obviously your -1 to hit, which is a bit of a problem. However, if you go Dark Creed, you can get +1 to hit in combat. And you also get +1 to hit later on as well, right?
So turn 3, you get +1 to hit when you're in combat. So your -1 then gets counteracted by your +1, turn 3. So you're back to hitting on 3s, and then Dark Creed gives you +1. And because it's the new ruling is you can't have any higher than +1 or -1 based on your characteristic. They normally hit on 3s in combat, so you then gain that additional +1 to hit from Dark Creed, means they're hitting on 2s.
So the net result can never be better than +1 from your characteristics. So because you're getting a plus, they're getting a minus. Sorry, the other way around. You're getting a plus and also a minus because of the Power Fist. And then obviously you can go for one more plus as well, so you can still get back to hit on 2s, which is absolutely incredible. Love it. And obviously you could go Splinter Blades there, which means you get exploding 6s. So yes, you might not get if you did want to go for the damage 2 option, but getting more volume of hits is going to help you get through those wounds just as quickly. So you get the extra attacks at damage 2 plus the exploding 6s, so you're more likely to proc more hits. So again, think about the loadout with the right type of coven, okay? So next up, we've got obviously grotesques. Can either shoot or combat. Typically, is one or the other. They can do a little bit of both, but it's better to go all in on one. But unfortunately, they can obviously be move blocked. They're a bit slower than some of the other units in the army. However,
you can give everyone in the unit a liquefy gun.
Okay.
So it's 5-man unit. So it's 5d6 strength 4 -2 1 damage shots. They will cut through your opponent's kind of basic screens like conscripts, just basic guardsmen, even infiltrators. And again, you could go Dark Technomancy to get +1 to wound, +1 damage. If you're really in a heavy marine meta, but then obviously you might be lacking a bit of durability. So again, you want to see how that plays out. Threats obviously they've got 4 wounds. They do get a 5+ feel no pain, but anything with damage 4 or more is really going to be a bit sticky for this unit. Again, I really like that -1 damage because there's a lot of damage 3 in the game, which then becomes obviously damage 2. So then it takes 2 flat 3 weapons to try and kill one, and you get that 5+ feel no pain. And statistically, you should roll a 5 or a 6 on 4 dice. So it's then going to need another flat 3 damage hit. So imagine that. That's 3 Thunderhammers that need to go through your invulnerable save to actually kill you if you've got that -1 damage. So again, there's lots of different units there. Or you can obviously use Raiders to get you in better positions, or you can even put them in the webway as well. Or Strategic Reserve. There is a stratagem which is called Murderous Descent, which all the Drukhari units can use, but it's on transports. When you come in from Strategic Reserve, you can disembark straight away from your transport. Like a drop pod, you still have to be 9 inches away, but it's just a way of getting those units a little bit further in, kind of thing. Where you need to go.
Finally, another really good strength is that Homunculus Coven Homunculi can actually regenerate you. D3 on your Talos or your Grotesques. And also Kronos can help recover units as well. There's other ways to also add more units in from a custom. So again, you can start to regenerate more models back. But obviously, if you take your characters, if you go full Coven, they're not giving you any buffs they're not giving you any rerolls, are they?
They give your units +1 toughness, and that's it. Really. And obviously the the healing.
Yeah, but if you're relying on that healing and you're relying on the toughness, obviously the biggest threat there is weapons that really ignore character, the lookout sir keyword, but obviously you can take the Nightmare Doll relic, gives them a 4+ feel no pain. You can also make them a master where they can essentially, they get a +1 wound in toughness?
They get +1 wound and toughness, and by being a master as well, because one of the threats is weapons that target characters. Yeah. But then by being a master, on top of that, is that on a 2+ you stand back up again.
Yeah. So you're going to keep doing that at the end of the phase. And also there's another way to buff that where you can take a master regenesis where you're getting flat 3 wounds back on those units as well. So you can start to stack these things together. You can heal your units. The Kronos can bring other ones back. So I really like it.
And if you go Prophets of Flesh, all of your monsters and your characters regenerate a wound. So if he's a master and he dies and comes back with 3 wounds, start of your next turn, he's got +1 on top of that.
Yeah,
so
love it.
He's not staying off the board very long.
Yeah, love it. Okay, cool. So let's have a little look at Homunculus Coven's list.
Yeah, so this is a spearhead because you kind of really want to maximise on those. You want to get those big chunky boys on the table.
Okay.
So you've got 2 Homunculus on the table. You can make one a master, or you could, if you're going to go Prophets, you could take Uran Rakarth. Okay. It's a really good option. You've got 2 units of 5 racks on the table. These are going to be your kind of action units because they're obsec. You can just like move them around to kind of steal off your opponent if needed.
Yep.
Good for scramblers, banners, stuff like that.
Yep.
Then you've got 2 units of 5 grotesques, which are going to go in the raiders. Yep. The raiders help them get around the table. They can hit hard. You can customize them to give them the flamers if you wanted to. Then you've got 2 units of 3 Talos and 1 unit of 2 Talos.
Yep.
They come in about 330 points, which is a really good ability, like 7 wounds each, toughness 6 or 7, depending on if there's a Homunculus nearby. Yeah. These guys are going to be your bully unit.
And they get stronger every single turn. Yeah. So you can play a little bit of cagey in the start of the game and then really ramp things up. And if you're going second, use obscuring cover, jump on those objectives at the end. I think it's a nice way to play it.
And Talos have fly as well.
Yeah.
So obviously you can't go through the floors of buildings, but you can just leap buildings.
Yeah.
Like ignore that terrain. Kronos is really good in this list. He's really good in all lists as well because he regens runes. You can bring racks back if any of those die. Also, if one of your units kills an entire unit in shooting or combat, you can spend 1 command point and put that unit straight to turn 5 on Power from Pain.
Cool.
So if your Talos have got decent shooting, pick up a small transport, pick up one of those small squads that people use to screen with or banner. Turn 1, those Talos are getting +1 to hit, getting advanced and charge, shooting in combat better, have a 5 up invulnerable save.
Cool. Really is there any questions, Jake, at the moment? Do you want to go to camera 1?
No, not really. I said just sort of people talking amongst themselves. People are loving sort of the content and stuff. And there is sort of one question actually. Okay. Thinking of that, I will just quickly go back to it. It was just asking, obviously, Raiders versus Venoms, sort of why is there, why would you have one or the other sort of thing, like if you had to pick?
So cool. If we can save that question. Yeah. Because we're going to cover unit size later. Okay, so the perfect unit size for the unit, or how many models you should have in that unit, and then you just literally marry the 2 together. Yeah. Okay. Obviously, grotesques take up 2 spaces, which is why obviously if you've got 5, they can go in a raider, which can take 10. But again, when we look at that, you're going to have a little bit of a better idea in a bit. Okay. Yeah. That is a great question.
That was good because the other question was about unit sizes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're going to be covering. We've literally got a slide on our picks of models per unit size, what is overkill, what's underkill, and all that type of stuff. Okay, cool. So we'll head back to the slides.
Yeah, so this is a SWOT analysis on mixed detachments, primarily on the Real Space Raid detachment, which is the new one. Because, like I said, you've got to take 1 Archon, 1 Succubus, 1 Homunculus, 1 unit of Racks, 1 unit of Cabalic Warriors, and 1 unit of Witches. Yeah. When you put them all into attachment, they don't count as a Witch Cult, a Homunculus Coven, or a Cabalic detachment. They count as a Real Space Raiders detachment. Yep. and those units still gain the benefits from their original place.
You can pick one, basically.
Yeah, so you could have all of the Cabalites as Blackheart, you could have all of the Witches as Strife, and you could have all of the Homunculus Covens as Prophet, and they still get access to their own relics, their warlord traits, and stratagems.
Yeah, cool. So some of the strengths of the army, the Archon affects all core units, including Blades for Hire, if you go for this attachment. So that's your Mandrakes, your Scourges, your Incubi, and again, you can give them that reroll ones to hit, which is absolutely incredible. Part of the weakness of this attachment, though, obviously you are restricted. You have to take one of each, like we've said. So you can't take, for example, Drazar or maybe some of those other little characters potentially you want to. In the Archon has to be the Warlord, right? Yeah. To get this benefit. So that means you can't put some of those key Warlord traits on maybe like Lilith or Drazar if you want to go for this. There is a sacrifice to be made to get that huge benefit of all those rerolls. Opportunities, though, obviously Blackheart gives your Blades for Hire reroll ones to hit, and if you give him the Relic, you can then give army-wide reroll ones to wound. Yeah. So that's on your Cabal and also your Blades for Hire. Yeah. Which is super strong, just to give you that 18% extra ability to reroll those ones. Yeah. Okay, nice.
So the threat on that is units that can target characters, because that Archon is such a linchpin of this force. Yeah. Like your opponent's gonna be gunning for him. Yep. Yeah, so you can take, as a result, you can take Court of the Archon. You get to take one Court of the Archon for every Archon in your army. And if you take a Sliff, he has the bodyguard kind of rule. So you cannot target the Archon if there is a Sliff stood next to him.
Very strong. Yeah. So if you've outpositioned him slightly, then obviously, he's going to be able to make sure that he can't be targeted, which is brilliant.
Or you can just keep him in a transport until he's needed. Don't be in a rush to get everything out as quickly as possible. Yeah. Yeah. Only bring him out when you're going to do that big push. Yeah.
So other strength of the army, obviously great variety of choice, but unfortunately you might suffer from being a bit of a jack of all trades. Yeah. You're not that extreme build of super durability. You're also not that extreme build of ultra, combat or ultra shooting or ultra mobility. So it becomes a bit of it's very well balanced. Yeah. But obviously the biggest problem there is, in some of the opportunities with that gives you obviously the massive combination of all the relics and warlord traits that you can start to amalgamate with fight first, fight last. And we're going to show you how that works in a little bit. Obviously, threat to that is an army that can play in every phase of the game. Yeah. An army that's got small arms fire, or should I say large arms fire to kill your vehicles, then enough small arms fire to kill your short troops, and then enough combat to countercharge you. Yeah. An army like that is going to be that sort of type of build is going to be really tough for the Drukhari. So again, that is something you want to be, worried about. But the result is obviously combining those elements. Thinking about, do you need redeploy? Do you need a bit of resilience? You can sort of mix and match to make that perfect combination for you. So I think that's a real nice opportunity there. But again, I think in the hands of a really experienced player, once you've got a really good idea and breadth of the codex, it's going to really sing. So I love that. Okay, next one.
Next one is you get access to more stratagems. Like I said, if you've got all three in one detachment, you get the benefits of all three, so you still get the access to their stratagems.
Problem with that?
If you have bad command point management. If you're like me, play that mini game, spend all the CP as quickly as possible, you will fall short in the late game. You need to make sure that you know exactly what turn you're going to be playing those stratagems.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. So the opportunities for that is that because it's a single detachment and because you've only got 3 characters, you're not spending much CP pre-game in the list building phase, as we like to call it.
Yeah, and also you can take, as you're going to go on to, obviously a threat there, anything that can, make stratagems cost more, like courtiers or whatever it might be, the Inquisitor.
Some of the assassins have it. Yeah. So even if you're playing against another Drukhari player with Vect.
Result?
Is you could take the Blackheart Archon, given the Labyrinthine Cunning Warlord trait like before. Yeah. Whenever you or your opponent do a stratagem, you roll a number of dice equal to the number of command points, and a roll of 6, you get 1 back.
Perfect. Yeah. Nice, cool. So final strength is, obviously, you really get the most out of each of the unit, right? There's so much variety, it's really fantastic there. Yeah. But unfortunately, you are a little bit limited on your redundancy. Yeah. Because it's tight, what heavy supports are you going to take? Yeah. As soon as you take a unit of Talos, you can't run triple Ravager. So you're not going to get that redundancy in terms of those Dark Lances. So maybe you need to make up for that on your Raiders, okay? So again, like I've just said there, you're customizing those transports to fill those gaps. So if you have a lack of elite killing units, disintegrators are the way forward.
Yeah.
If you're lacking those abilities to pop other transports, again, because you're a transport heavy army and it's all kind of who gets out of the transport first loses really. So again, you need to pop those transports, clear whatever's inside. Problem though?
Decision-making fatigue. Because you have access to so much stuff, there's so many moving parts in this army, and you've got to keep track of it all. Like, you can find yourself, if you go to a 5 or 6 game event, you're probably going to be absolutely shattered by game 5, because you have got a lot of information to keep control of.
Absolutely. So we'd always recommend cheat sheets and just getting your army experience in. Don't be too too encouraged or to try and keep changing up your list. No. Keep it the same, change 20%. Yeah. And if you go with that, you'll slowly get those repetitions in, okay? Start off with spam things. Yeah. And I mean that by just take 3 Ravagers, 3 units of Witches, 3 units of Grotesques, see how it plays. Yeah. You'll get a feel for what that unit can do, then take out a Ravager, put some Talos in. Yeah. Take out a unit of Grotesque, put a unit of Incubi in, okay? That means you also learn the profile very quickly. Yeah. You also get used to what stratagems are going to play on those units very fast. The other way is obviously stick with each of the Cabals or Covens or Witches to begin with, get to know the type of archetypes, and then bring it all together at the end. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah, because it's a very unforgiving army to play with. So
yeah. So do you want to go through the Real Space raid?
Yeah, so this is, as before we've got the Blackheart Strife, and we've got the Homunculus covers, we've got the Dark Creed for some cool combos, which we'll go over in a little bit. You've got 1 unit of 5 Cabalite Warriors, 1 unit of 5 Racks, and then you've got 3 units of 10 Witches. Obviously, your Witches are going to be your heavy hitter units. Your small units of 5 are going to be doing actions, like in reserve, sat on backline objectives. Yep. In your elite slot, we've got 2 units of Incubi, 2 units of Mandrakes, like in this before. Incubi for combat, Mandrakes for screening, denying actions, denying secondaries. Fast attack, you've got 10 Hellions. These guys can sit in the mid-board, fill gaps where they need to be filled, hit an elite unit that needs to be dealt with.
Bit hit and run.
Yeah. Then you've got the Blackheart Ravager.
Triple Dark Lance.
Triple Dark Lance, doing a lot of work. Then you've got 3 Talos, bit of a bully unit. Just to hit the mid-table, hold it, secure objectives for you.
Or even keep in the back. Yeah. Be a nice little counterpunch. They want to come close and get your backfield objectives. Talos can just, they're getting stronger every turn. Then they can start to pounce. Late game, they become unkillable. Yeah. Because your army or your opponent's army is going to be very weak, little left. It gives the rest of the army chance to kill the big stuff. That's going to hurt your Talos, and the Talos can then go in reign supreme.
Yeah. If you're on a Hammer and Anvil or a Dawn of War deployment where you've got like 2 really decent objectives, if there's a unit of 3 Talos sat behind a wall that your opponent can't deal with, they ain't coming near you.
No, absolutely.
Those are yours.
So then you've got 3 transports, 3 Raiders with Witches inside, and then 3 Venoms with the Homunculus inside.
Well, the Incubi.
Sorry, did I say Homunculus inside? Yeah, so I meant Incubi, and maybe 1 unit of Racks or something, or Cabalites. Yeah. Cool, love it. So, time for top unit character combos.
Yeah. These start off small and get a little bit bigger as we go through. So this is based on the Blackheart Archon, who we've talked about in the Real Space Raiders detachment. He's an incredibly good force multiplier. He gains the Mastermind ability. So like we said, all core units in your detachment get reroll 1s to hit. Yep. This includes units like Scourges, it includes Mandrakes, and it includes Talos. Yep. Everyone's getting that, even Hellions and Reavers. Yep. The Writ of the Living Muse relic, like we said, gives played for higher reroll 1s to wound.
Yep. And your core as well. Yep.
Yeah. And he's got the Ancient Evil Warlord trait, which means that when he is engaged in range at the start of the combat phase, picks a unit, they fight last.
Yeah. And if they're uneligible to fight, that also means you cannot use the interrupt stratagem counter defenses unless, for example, you have fight first. But it's a really strong ability and probably one of the most strongest abilities in the game at the moment. Oh, yeah. So
you pair this character up with the winners of this codex, in my heart, are the Incubi. Incubi hit on 2s, so they're getting reroll 1s to hit. So you're getting a 90% hit rate on that. Yep. Wounding on 3s on average, because they're now strength 5. And then re-rolling 1s to wound from the Archon. Yep. It's really nice. And then you pair his Warlord trait with their Tormentor's ability. Tormentor's ability now is you pick a unit in engagement range. If you roll over their leadership, they fight last. So you can get some multi-charges on, shut down a lot of your opponent's army.
Yeah, because that's the problem. If you shut down one, the other unit just interrupts and kills you before you get a chance to swing. So it means that you can, typically if you've got a combat-based army, you can normally, and this is a key for everybody here, if you want to go to camera 1, typically what will happen is when you're making charges, you either make one charge, because otherwise the other unit just interrupts and kills your second unit. Okay, so you either make one charge or 3 charges. Okay, because obviously you fight with the first one, the second unit you expect to die, but then you get to swing with the third. Now you can fight with one, and you make the other 2 uneligible to fight. So that means you could actually make 3 charges. All can swing and they all can stay safe. Okay, the Archon allows you to make 2. So fight with one unit's uneligible to fight, so that means you swing with this unit, then you come back to the one with the unit with the Archon in. So it means you can also get that. You could even go further. 4 or 5 units can charge. Yes, they could use interrupt, but maybe only on the 4th unit. So again, you're going to get 5 units in, 5 units killed. You're only going to lose 1 unit in return. We call that trading up. So you're losing 1 unit, they're losing 5 units. And that's what we call trading up in the game, especially with an army that's a glass cannon, low point value, which is hopefully going to hit so hard it kills more points than their own equivocal value. Okay? Love it. Okay, cool. So let's go on to the next one. So we're going to expand it a little bit, right?
So we're going to take the Archon from that one, and we're going to take the unit of the Incubi. We're then going to include another character, Drazar. He gives all Incubi +1 to wound.
So he needs to be in a patrol detachment, obviously. But you can easily fit this in. So you've got a real space raid and a patrol. Drazar goes into the HQ for them. He gives you +1 to wound on those Incubi. Makes them a little bit stronger.
Which means that Intermarines are going to be wounding them on 2s.
So with 3 units of Incubi, and also he then has a fight last Tormentor's rule as well. So the Archon could go into 1, that guarantees your fight last. Then the Incubi go in and Drazar, and they can potentially make up to 4 other units then, fight last as well. All benefiting from +1 to wound and all those rerolls.
And then you include the Cult of Strife Witches, because the Cult of Strife special rule now is that when they start the combat phase in engagement range, in combat phase, they get the fights first ability. So if your opponent if you have a fight first and they have a fight last ability, then it means that it counteracts each other, so that because you charged, you have the initiative to go first.
Or, for example, if they charge you, you make them fight last, and you fight first, you will swing before they do. So it's really nice there. Or if you'll get multiple charged and you don't have fight last, having fight first with those, it is a Cult of Strife though, isn't it, that gets fight first, then obviously it means that you can interrupt combat without spending any CPs. So it's going to help you on your CP management front, okay? And it means then the Witches can also keep the units in combat if the Incubi didn't kill it, so then the Incubi can wrap up and kill it in your opponent's turn, because obviously the Witches can use their shard net and their ability to keep units in combat, so those Incubi then can't be shot at because they're going to be held in combat. And this is where wrapping and trapping, all those types of movement shenanigans are fantastic to keep units there. And if you're uneligible to fall back, it also means you can't use the desperate breakout stratagem either. Okay, so that's a really clutch ability to keep those Incubi a little bit safer.
So there is a nice combat succubus.
Or there's multiple.
There's a lot of combat succubus. But I chose this one because this is like one of my favourite ones. So you get the Quicksilver Warlord trait. So a succubus has 6 attacks. We'll start off with that. Quicksilver Warlord trait gives her an additional 2.
See, I like a different one.
Precision blows.
Precision blows. Every 6 to wound is a mortal wound. So you'll talk through yours and I'll talk through mine. And you might end up having to take 2 succubus at the end of this.
Or 3. There's a lot of...
combos.
So give her +2 attacks, puts her to 8. You give her the Triptych Whip relic, which not only gives you an additional 3 attacks, it's poison 2+, which means that it always wounds on 2s if it's attacking a non-vehicle unit. And it's -3 AP, so it goes through a lot of armor saves, and it's damage 2. Very good at killing those 2 damage models, or even units with like 4 wounds. Really, really good. Then you can use the strat Hyperstim Backlash, which you have to play in your command phase, which doubles the combat drug you've taken. So you probably give them
+1 attack.
+1 attack, which means you get an additional 2 attacks. There is another stratagem which you can play, optional, called the potent metalotoxins. You can do this if she doesn't have the relic, but she does have the whip, which is just 4+ to wound. It means that you can wound vehicles on the poison ability.
Yeah. So it's kind of like if you're taking maybe some different type of weaponry.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you got a whip on another, and this has just got a regular whip potentially. It could be quite useful.
Yeah. But I put that in there as a nice little bit of information. It's a need to know.
And also, it's good to know that that doesn't work on relics as well, which is good to clarify.
And you also need, but as someone playing against Drukhari, that is a stratagem you need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Because if you think that they're only wounding you on 6s and they play that stratagem, you're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
So when you put it together, she's hitting and wounding on 2s with 12 attacks, 13 with the combat drug.
Yep.
Is really, really good. Damage 2, killing rates. So she can wade into any kind of elite unit, like marine unit of like 5.
Perfect it. Killing infiltrators, incursors, anything that's got objective secured, that's in the mid-board, she's great at killing them. Anything that doesn't have an invulnerable save and also doesn't have a feel no pain. Because as soon as there's a feel no pain involved, your 2 damage doesn't really equate to much. That's why I like the precision blows, so that every time I roll a 6 to wound in combat, it turns my damage of my weapon into mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. So against another character that has an invulnerable save, I'm getting 2 less attacks, but I still am getting 6 base plus another 2 for my combat drugs. So I'm getting up to 8, then an additional 3 as well. So I'm getting 11 attacks. So I should be getting 10 hits, and that means I should roll maybe anywhere from 1 to 3 6s averagely. So I'm going to be doing anywhere from 2 to 6 mortal wounds, and then the other wounds are just pluses on top of that.
And that's really good on like 1 wound units as well. So she kills more as well. But she's a really good character. I found that, like, for instance, your opponent's left an apothecary, a banner, a lieutenant sat on an objective, off to one side. Like, you don't have the time or the units allocated to deal with that. You can just send her over, and she'll sort that problem out for you.
So you can have a witch with that whip to go and kill infantry, like Joe said, or you could go maybe one like I said with a bit more character hunting, because typically characters do have those in-bun saves. So again, fit for purpose. Okay.
Sorry, it's 6s to hit is the warlord trait, not to wound.
6s to hit.
Yeah, apparently that's what the chat is saying. Can we just? That's what Ben
I may have read that wrong earlier.
Which was it? The precision blows.
Yep.
Each time an unmodified hit roll of 6.
Even better.
Even better. You don't have to worry about you only have to make 1 roll instead of 2.
I just assumed it was reroll 6s to wound.
To be honest, that's better than what we explained it.
Yeah.
So
even better.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
So,
is that Jonesy? Was it in the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of our other VT coaches is watching played on stream last night. So really like that. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Really good.
So the next one I'm going to do is expanding on Tormentors, which is the Incubi rule and Drazar.
Yeah.
So as I explained, you roll leadership, roll over your opponent's leadership, then they fight last. So Drazar and Incubi have this one. You can double this up with a 5-point upgrade on any of your transports. You can even put this on Ravagers as well, called Grizzly Trophies. It has a 3-inch aura where you subtract 2 of enemy unit's leadership.
Cool.
So increasing that chance of doing it.
Yeah.
If you take Dark Creed, they have a 6-inch aura of -1. So it means that you can have 5 Incubi and Drazar, or 5 Incubi and your Archon in a Venom, disembark, and then ready to do the charge, pick up your Venom, put it next to your opponent's unit, make the charge, and they're at -3.
Yeah, and basically, like, we looked at the averages, so your average leadership is about 8 in the game, okay? So you need to -3 off to that to get it down to a 5, and then that gives you, because you need to roll a 6 or more on 2 dice, you've got a 58.3% chance of doing that. If the average is 8, and it goes down to only by -2, you'll be at literally a 50-50. Okay, and it's so difficult to get that reliable. So getting it to that 58 or above, chance, that's going to be fantastic. So anything that's leadership 7, you're going to need to roll a 5, which I think becomes about 65%. So again, it's just constantly adding on the opportunities. Like we said earlier on, consistent, reliable
Yeah.
results.
So when you're playing with Drukhari, you need to make sure that you know before you make charges where you want to go. That sets up the whole turn.
Yeah.
But when you're playing against Drukhari, or there's a lot of Drukhari in your meta, you're going to an event, you know there's going to be a lot of Drukhari players there, maybe start looking at things that do actually increase leadership. We don't see that much at the moment, but like Drukhari could change the game on that.
Yeah, I'm already looking for those things.
Yeah.
Because Drukhari will change the game. Great
Yeah.
point. So we can take this one step further. Dark Creed, obviously, they've got some really cool elements there. We said about that -1 there.
Yeah.
We've already spoke about the Grizzly Trophy. So assume that you're going to have a -3-inch leadership.
Yeah.
They've got an incredible Warlord trait, which says at the end of your movement phase, select 1 unit within 9. You roll 3d6 this time, so not 2, but 3d6. If that result is greater than the enemy's leadership characteristics until the next movement phase, that unit cannot perform any actions that is currently performing any, and it immediately fails. And it also loses objective secured.
Yeah.
So let me go through this. How far, Joe, does a homunculus move?
7 inches.
7 inches. You can disembark 3 inches, right? Out of a transport.
Yep.
So you can move 10 inches.
Yep.
And he's got a minimum advance. You're always going to roll a minimum of a 1. So we're just going to use that number, 1. We're not going to assume any more, because we always have to assume we're going to roll a 1 on that advance roll. So that means we're going to be moving 11 inches, right?
Yep.
We've then got a 9-inch aura range. 20 inches.
Yeah.
So can we go down to the top-down cam, please?
Oh, I'm playing.
Sorry. So imagine we've got this Venom here. He needs to be, you're going to set this up, so potentially if we're playing the mission Vital Intelligence, where this unit of aggressors could be sat on their objective there, doing an action, and obviously with this ability what happens is, are we on top down, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. So
you guys up
if
there.
this unit here does an action, for every other, and this is, they need to do the action for the entire turn.
Yeah.
When it comes to their next command phase, for every objective they hold, they score that many points.
Yeah.
So this here, providing this Venom, when you're looking to do this, your opponent's going to try and do this maybe every single turn with a small unit in the backfield here. So you're going to tee this up probably for turn 2 or turn 3, and this will be game winning. So you're going to measure out 20 inches, and you're going to go, right, cool, I'm just going to put my Venom there, keep it nice and safe. So then when it comes to your turn, you've measured out your 20 inches. There is set as far back as you can. He gets out 3. I'm going to put him up here just so you guys can see on camera. Yeah. He's then going to move his 7 inches. You're going to roll that dice. It's a 5. I can go a little bit further, but I only need a 1. And I then know that I can pick that unit within 9 inches, turn off their OBSEC, and if I just put myself on that objective, potentially I can hold it, I can shut down their actions, and then that means for their next turn in turn 3, even if they're holding 4 other points, I've just taken away from that 1 Warlord trait 4.
Yeah. Well, what you do with that is, because the Venom's got a movement of 16.
I completely forgot.
Yeah.
You move the Venom over, first of all, to get your Grizzly trophies in as well, just to get that -2.
Yeah.
Because obviously the homunculus will give an inbuilt -1 if he's Dark Creed, but typically if they're leadership 8, on 3 dice, it's quite doable. The average you should roll on 3 dice is going to be about a 9.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you work off the assumption of a 9, even with a -1, the Venom, because it happens at the end of the movement phase, you're pretty much guaranteeing it with that Venom. And now you've got the 2 models, neither of you have OBSEC, then obviously that's going to make sure that you're also going to contest that objective if there's 2 models, okay? So again, it's super clutch, really useful Warlord trait, and that is a Warlord trait that is game winning. In the right hands at the right time, set up correctly, that's a game winning Warlord trait, and I absolutely love it. Or it stops your opponent from taking Vital Intelligence as a secondary option, because they know you can do it, and if they can't stop it. So if you're against Drukhari and they've got this Warlord trait, do not take any actions that take an entire turn to do. If they're going to bring you 3 to 4 victory points in, choose something else, because they will shut you down.
Yeah.
Whew, unit sizes.
Yeah, this is one slide.
I'm exhausted. How are the guys getting on in the chat there?
Yeah, they're all loving it and stuff. Yeah, they're all just sort of discussing the lists and bits, and obviously looking forward to what's to come.
Yeah, let us know, guys, in the chat, which ones, out of all the ones we've mentioned, are you favouring so far? Yeah. Have we changed your mind? That's what I'd be really interested in. If you've changed your mind, just type in the comments, changed mind. Yeah. Let us know. Or, if you've confirmed it, put confirmed. So, yeah, hopefully that's helped. So, unit sizes. Yeah. We've got the key ones here.
Yeah, so this is going to answer the question we had before about Venoms and Raiders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incubi.
Yeah.
We'll start with some. I might add in a couple of others. But go on, Incubi.
5 or 10.
Go on, what are your thoughts?
I really like 5-man units.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of them. So 5 fit into a Venom with a character, or even on their own. They're self-sufficient, you know. They don't like, because they hit on 2s, they don't always need that character. If you need to go and deal with another 5-man unit's an objective, they go over, they can pick it up, they can deal with it on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you'll typically find, a 5-man unit will kill most things in the game that you need it to.
Yeah.
Especially because you'd have already softened things up from some of the shooting. Yeah. 5-man will kill it. 10-man will completely overkill it. The problem there is that when you get shot in your next turn, you're giving up twice as many points. Yeah. And also you're going to have to pay more points for a Raider rather than a Venom, so you're going to lose your Raider as well. Yeah. So therefore you're just losing so much when a 5-man unit would have probably done just enough damage to, that's that sweet spot of efficiency. When we look at those extremes, it's hitting the sweet spot and not the extreme.
Because you need, like when you play Drukhari, you need to be fully aware of how soft and killable every unit is. Yeah. And you need to know its limits. So when we did the battle report on YouTube, 5 Incubi picks up 5 aggressors.
Yeah, there or thereabouts, right?
But 10 Incubi
also pick up 5.
Also pick up 5, but 2 aggressors picks up that whole unit.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And like 2 aggressors kills 5 just as well as it kills 10. Yeah. So like just be aware of your limits.
We want to trade up. So you want a smaller point cost unit. So keep it nice and cheap and go and kill something nice and big and juicy. Not too big where you overstretch yourself, where you don't do anything. Just big enough to get your points back. Trade up all the time. Cavalite Warriors.
It's 5 or 10. Do you go for the little squads in Venoms? They can go around because they're obsec picking up units. Or you can put either 2 5-man squads in, like Steve showed you earlier.
Perfect, yeah.
For doing that. Or you can go 1 big 10-man unit.
Trueborn.
Yeah.
With all the weapons.
If you want to get the heavy weapons in there, that's what you do.
Yeah. So you're either going 10 Trueborn or 2 units of 5 in a Raider, or 5-man units in Venoms.
It's all about in the list building phase. You need to know the purpose of what that unit's going to be doing in the game.
Yeah. Remember, you're getting that free reroll a turn, perfect on blasters or any like one-shot weapons. Okay, racks.
All right. I put 5 or 20.
Yeah.
Because one of the very popular covens is Dark Technomancers.
Yep.
When you take a 20-man squad, that gives you 4 flamers and a weapon on the sergeant of shooting. So those flamers, same as what we talked about in the grotesques, D6 shots, strength 4, -3, or -2, 1 damage. Go Dark Technomancers.
+1 to wound.
+1 to wound.
+1 damage.
+1 damage. So a 20-man squad can, Ben did this in the battle report, so you can watch that on the channel. Brought down a 20-man unit in front of an orc army, literally screened off
the table,
so they couldn't get past at all. And then using those flamers, you can comfortably pick up units of boys or pick up a transport, and it traps your opponent in their side of the table.
You're basically saying you are going to get only 4 turns of movement because I'm going to stop you moving anymore.
Yeah.
You're shutting down an entire movement phase, which is so strong.
Yeah.
So it's nice, keep it nice and big. Yeah. Also great for things like going up against Mortarion, where you can tar pit him, where you put more models in than he has attacks to kill you. You spend your 2 CPs to auto pass morale. Mortarion cannot fall back in charge. He's stuck in combat with a unit he doesn't really want to be stuck in combat with. It's boring for him. He could be killing something bigger. Tar pit him. Okay, 20-man units. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mandrakes.
Mandrakes, 5.
Perfect. No bigger.
Yeah.
But you need at least 2 units.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to explain how this works, okay? Got any mandrakes over there?
We
10 over there.
have 10 over here. Ooh.
Okay, can we go down to the top down, please?
So there's 5.
Thank you very much. So when you deploy these guys, remember the deployment zone here is, we're working off a vital intelligence map. So basically, in fact, we'll do like, imagine a hammer and anvil, because actually these board lines then create our deployment zones, okay?
Do you want another unit?
No, oh, we're all good.
Oh, we'll
So
use
two units is just fine. So what you're going to do is you're going to put 1 unit down in the midfield, okay? And ideally somewhere nice and hidden, literally in the corner over here, out of harm's way as best as you possibly can, ideally behind some line of sight. So I'm going to put them just here so you can see me, okay? They're down there. So 1 unit goes here. The other unit, what you do is you deploy them in the backfield, okay? Joe, if you're leaving, do you want to turn your mic off?
Oh,
or
yeah.
leave it here, please. Okay. So the other unit goes right in your backfield. And what you're going to do, you're going to leave those there. Turn 1, you're going to scramble in the midfield. This is a really hard place to actually get a scramble. So you're going to scramble here with the midfield, okay? So that's turn 1, you achieve that. Then this unit will probably die, so they'll be removed from the table. Meanwhile, what you can then do is in turn 1, or even wait much, much longer, I'd probably wait until turns perhaps 4. So what you want to try and do is do an action maybe turn 2 in your backfield with this unit of mandrakes later on in the game, because they've got an ability to come off the table. Turn 4, they come off. Turn 5, they come on to your opponent's backfield, and then they do an action in your opponent's. And it means then, if you want to go to camera 1, it then means that your opponent pretty much has an impossible job of screening out the entire table until turn 5. Okay, because you've got all those 5 turns to clear away gaps in your opponent's back lines. It literally gives you a guaranteed 10 points on your scramble. The other great thing that mandrakes can do is, let's go back to the overhead. Now, this unit here, I can deploy 9 inches away from my opponent's deployment zone. Now, a unit that can infiltrate, if I go first, means that if I'm 9 inches away from these aggressors, or 9 inches away from their deployment zone, which puts me about here, I think, this unit can move in advance, and as long as I put a toe in onto their objective, it means that this unit here cannot raise a banner. Same for if they've got any ability which is around the middle where they need to do an action. Again, I can deploy there. What I'm doing straight away is, if I go first, I'm basically having it so that I am what we call action denial. If I go first, you're not putting up any banners, okay? That means then it's going to take you an entire turn to kill me. That means you can only put banners up from turn 2, and then you're only going to score from turns 3, 4 and 5, okay? And then potentially the end of the game. But then I've got more chance to actually get the rest of my units up. So is that something as a Drukhari opponent wants to do? If they go second, they are not going to be able to put banners up. So that might take banners off the table, forcing for them to go for scrambles, which means then you can use your raiders and ravagers and your venoms in the backfield to really zone out that until turn 3, because typically units can't redeploy like the mandrakes can. So not only can the mandrakes score you incredible points for secondaries, but they can also deny your opponent as well. So bear in mind, if you're up against mandrakes, don't take that gamble, and you need to have other options than just scrambles or banners, okay? So which is next then, Joe?
10 or 20.
Okay.
But there is also a small argument for 5, but 10 or 20 is what we've got here. Raider or webway. Yeah, so Raider, you're getting them into position. They gives them an incredible movement boost.
Yeah.
And as a 10-man squad, they really benefit from being able to slip into holes and get bonuses from characters.
Yeah, and also you need 10 really, because if they get Overwatch, you're going to lose a couple.
Yep.
So it's nice to have about 7 to 8 to actually do something. 5 typically are a little bit lackluster.
Yeah.
So having 10 really confirms it. Also, you will be counterpunched. And remember, you need enough models. So if you were to have a shard net there, imagine you lost 1 from Overwatch. You've got 4 left. Now they can only have to kill 4 models, and then they're not going to be held in combat. Whereas if they lose 1 from Overwatch, you can lose up to another 8 models, and you can still keep that unit trapped in combat.
Yeah.
So I think units of 10 are literally the sweet spot. Maybe if you want a big blob, 20, bring them down, deep strike them.
Yeah.
But again, you're looking for, what is it, something like a 33% chance of a charge on a 9-inch. Not particularly reliable, but maybe you bring them down turn 2 in a, big building, and then turn 3 you advance in charge.
Because if you're like with the like we spoke about with the racks, if you're running pure witch cult and you want to control the flow of the game, and you want to lock your opponent into their deployment zones really good. If you take Cult of Strife, if you're charging a unit that's not engaged, you get +1 to your charge. Yeah. Or that the Red Grief gives you re-roll charges. Yeah, so you can bring in some reliability there. And again, witches with that 4+ invulnerable save, great at tar picking units like a Catan, like Mortarion, like a Dimmacaron that cannot put in. Because if you've got a 4+ invulnerable save and you've got a 20-man unit, they need to get through 40 wounds statistically to kill a 20-lady unit. Okay, so again, tar pit it, shake it down, keep it there. Don't let it escape. Yeah. Keep it in combat with you. Even Marines, like aggressors. Aggressors, they've got power fists. It literally mean nothing. Yeah. To that.
So we're going to cover how to build a game plan with the Drukhari. Okay. So again, first of all, you need to think about, we're in the secondary picking stage. Yeah. Making sure you've got plenty of great units there to deny your opponent's secondaries. Make sure you've got those options in your list to go, if you take this, I've got that. Yeah. So if you take banners, I've got mandrakes that can stop it. Yeah. If you take for the one that means you need to do actions in the centre of the table, I've got a unit of mandrakes that can sit there to stop it. Yeah. I've got 2 planes in my army that if you've got, for example, those 2 company veterans or those 4 servitor models, I can fly over there and just pick them up, no problem. You can't hide from planes because they've got such great movement. So the Drukhari are fantastic at denying secondaries. Yeah. They've also got incredible board presence, okay? So do you have enough units in your army to make sure that every single turn you can reliably feed a unit, not really miss it, and get you engaged in all fronts? For at least, remember when we're thinking about secondary picks and building a game plan, we're looking at scoring 40 points on the primary, and then we're looking at scoring 30 points on the secondary. 10 points for Battle Painted, that's 80 points, and then with a little bit of finesse here and there, you might even be able to push into the 90s. So remember, you're going to need at least 5 units that can feed into 1 quarter to get you a reliable amount of secondary picks, okay? Yeah. In terms of your engage in all fronts. Those 2 units of mandrakes will easily get you 10 points on scramblers, and if banners is a better option, if you've got 3 objectives in your backfield, then great, you can easily do banners instead. Yeah. You can use your mandrakes, potentially scourges, or with that big unit of racks to zone out the middle of the table, stop your opponent from getting their banners up, stopping your opponent getting to you. And if you've got mandrakes as well, providing that if your opponent's got infiltrators or anything that can pre-game move, set your mandrakes up to literally stop them from infiltrating and stopping putting your banners up. Yeah. Okay? So you've got really good abilities to deny and also score, okay? Yeah. You've got great board presence from lots of OBSEC, using the tricks we showed you earlier with your your Raiders and your Venoms, getting OBSEC troops in there, jumping out or leaving them as a bait, letting your opponent kill them, popping out with those objective secured troops is going to give you really good board presence and also make sure that you can constantly steal objectives off your opponent. Trading up.
Yeah, it's a really important one. I showed it in the game versus the Tau. Having those little 5-man units, having those Venoms that can go out and sit on an objective, you know that your opponent's just going to kill them next turn. Yeah. You know they're going to be dead next turn, but what they are doing is stopping your opponent from scoring points. Yeah. So on something like on a 6 objective game where all the objectives are in the open and you know you can get onto 4 of those or even 5 by putting a Venom, a 5-man squad, a Venom and a 5-man squad. What it means is that you know you're not going to score those points in your turn because they're usually dead, but you know going into your opponent's next turn, they're only scoring 5 points or no points.
Yeah. So you're using combat units to go on clearing off units of objectives. Yeah. Exactly what you want to be doing. Awesome. And then making sure you're utilising those transports. Yeah. They're not just carrying troops. They're going to keep your troops safe. They're actually going to extend the movement of your troops by 3 inches, and then what they're going to do is stay in the backfield, screen out scramblers, hold objectives in the backfield, let the OBSEC units move into the middle, and let your combat units like your incubi, your witches, head into your deployment zone and try and steal objectives there. And that's pretty much a game plan. If you can reliably do that, you should be scoring a good 80 points. And on the academy, if you go to camera 1, on the academy, we have a weekly lesson called Pick Your Secondaries. And what we do with you is basically we present you a list, we present you a mission, and for example, just like this one here, we'd say we're playing Vital Intel, this is the list you're up against, maybe my Craft World list. We go over what the Craft World list does, good and bad secondary picks to take against it. You then, as the Drukhari player, would put your list in, and then we would give you feedback on your secondary picks. So then hopefully by the time you've done 12 weeks in the academy, you would have faced off against 12 different armies, so that you'd have and 12 different missions, so you have a really good idea of what you need to be picking and how those armies. One of the biggest things that we have and problems with is that the clarity of what all the other, in the confusion that all those other armies can do. So we want to give you that clarity, clear all that up confusion, and give it to you in a digestible information. And then what we're working on as well is a massive database of information that you can fill out yourself when you're filling out and completing the lessons in the modules. You'll get your homework. You put your homework task into, or what you're learning into your homework task, and then when you go to your tournaments and events, you've got a really cool cheat sheet with everything you need to look out for. We can do the decision making for you, so when you get to the table, you can play comfortable, calm, and have confidence.
Because it's not just like words on a bit of paper, and it's not just a lesson to fill your time. When you go to an event, how many times does your opponent come to the table? Oh, what army are you running? Oh, I need to check my secondaries. Like, oh, what mission is it? What secondaries are good? Kind of check it over. You have this bit of paper. You walk to the table. You go, that's the mission. You're playing Space Marines. These are my good secondaries. Boom, done. Like, it takes that stress out.
And also, we teach you to ask the right questions. So when you go through the modules and you fill out your homework, you'll know, oh, you're playing Genestealer Cult. Have you got this relic? Are you taking, for example, a Grand Generation in the Making? Have you got access to that? No. Okay, cool. Have you got any way to make me fight last? No. Cool. I don't need to worry about that. Okay, perfect. So that's exactly how you can start to then build a really good game-winning plan, is because you're going to get such great knowledge of all the other books by doing that, and then making sure you're asking the right questions when you're getting there, and also not being that guy's like, oh, so what does your army do? And you're there like, where do I start? I mean, if you tried to explain the Drukhari Codex to somebody in 5 minutes, you're going to be like, well, I mean, I've got a real Space Raider detachment. So you're going to get to the table with a real sense of calm and confidence. Awesome. Right, so we go back to the slides. So what do you need to consider? Obviously, when we're building this game plan out, making sure that you have a plan for holding the primaries. And on the academy, we go into this in a lot more detail, but we like to use the rule of 3. Objective secured unit, something tough and hard to kill, and a character. The rule of 3 will always hold you an objective. That should get you a good, and if you can do that on 2 objectives consistently, you should score 10 points as a minimum, okay? And even if it's on a hold 2, hold 3 mission, at least you can hold your potential 2, use your ability to push your opponent off theirs, bring them down to only holding 1, which means that then you get the hold more, so you score your 10 points, which is awesome. So that's exactly what you want to be doing. So you need to know which units you're going to be holding with, then you're going to know which objectives you want to attack onto. So when we're looking at the mission, which objectives on that map do I really want to focus on holding myself? So for me, if I was the Drukhari player, I'm probably going to head to the red one, obviously, if that's my deployment zone, and then I'm going to probably hold that one which is in the middle, just to the top left-hand side of that image, okay? They're my 2 I'm going to hold. Then I can attack into the one, if you go down to the top-down cam. So this is one I'm going to hold, obviously. I'm also going to hold this one here. That's my stretch over there, and I can easily move block this area off. Okay, but this is the objective I'm going to attack into every single turn. So I'm going to hold this one and this one. I can put a Venom over there if I really want to. and then this is the one I'm going to constantly attack into over here. Okay, I'm going to let my opponent try and have this one because it will probably keep his guns out of range to me.
Yep.
And he can also have that one in the corner. I'm not going to overstretch myself. That is also then going to make sure I get my engage in all fronts, and a really good way, because if I can completely saturate this area, and if I feel like I'm getting good domination of the table, I can then push into this one, and I can leave my opponent sat in their deployment zone, and I don't need to worry about it. Okay? So again, making sure you've got a plan, making sure you know which units you are going to attack with. So in your command phase, take some time, think about, okay, this Venom with that unit of Incubi in, they're going to go and trade up over there. But first I need to get rid of that transport, so I need to make sure you're setting your movement phase up, okay? Again, how do we give you that confidence, clarity, and community? So we'll give you a little sneak peek inside the academy before we head over to the winners of the Combat Patrol boxes, and also time to answer your questions as well.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm just going to go to it now.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
So,
you can't see it, but it's all fine.
Awesome. So this is when you log into the academy, and because you have took the time today to sit with us, or maybe you're watching this back, we want to give you a 2-week trial on the academy. This is going to allow you to understand exactly what it's like to be part of a like-minded community and not some of the more potential controversial groups that are out there in the Facebook worlds of Warhammer. There isn't any negativity in our group.
If you put a question into the community, there isn't going to be that person be like, duh, why don't you know? Or that's a bad question.
Or you're wrong.
Yeah.
You know, we don't get that, okay? And if we do, those people aren't allowed in the academy for long.
Yeah.
We're very hot on it. And again, we ask all our students to sign a code of conduct so that we're all on the same page. We all represent a brand that's really steering the ship when it comes to sportsmanship and fair play and winning the game in the right way. And if we lose, it's all about learning, okay? And that's what we're trying to get across in that ethos. We're a team together. So when you get 2 weeks free trial, okay? So when you sign up for the trial, it's completely free for those first 14 days. And then when you get to day 15, you'll be billed. Obviously, if you choose to leave or cancel, you can do that any time. But as soon as you do that, you'll lose your access to the course and obviously all of our community, okay? Because we like to keep our community closed to students only, so we can keep, because that's where we put a lot of our clinics and our lessons, and there's immense value in there, huge amount of discounts with all of our suppliers, whether it's, you know, extra discounts on terrain, our events, all those other elements, and also contact coaches which are going to help mentor you, and there's a whole team of us. But not only that, you get access to the website, which is what Jake's showing you right now. And as you can see, I think there's 110 lessons in there at the moment.
And growing every week.
They're constantly being renewed. Every single week we redo a module to bring them in line with either new production quality, new things we're learning, or obviously upgrading from 8th to 9th. So for example, the movement phase. And if you go on the movement phase, this is a module that we've recently filmed in. It's all time release, so for however long you're on the academy for, you get new modules drip fed to you. The idea is that there's a new lesson every single week, plus the weekly lives that we're going to show you. But basically, you'll see there that we'll go into detail into exactly the application of those rules on the table. Overheads, close-ups, theoretical, like what we have today. And it's all about helping you create really great army lists. And we're all about teaching you how to fish, essentially. Like today, we haven't just shown you, this is the best list, go and run this. No. We've given you options. We're helping you understand and identify and justify why you're doing what you're doing and helping you think critically so that you can get the most out of your models. Do you want to go back to camera 1?
So stop sharing the screen.
Yeah. And obviously, like I said, you get access to those communities. And if you want to bring the slides back up. So the purpose of that academy is give you that empowerment, combining new knowledge learned, the application and skills and experience with enjoyment, maximizing your hobby. And there's so many people that have, you know, the successes in there are absolutely incredible. And the fact that we've got so many like-minded people is just brilliant. It really builds a sense of community. And as we get a bit older, we lose those connections slightly, but it's nice to be around people that, you know, you can rock up to an event to. We've got a team event coming up that I've paid for 3 teams to enter. And we've got, 12 to 16 players going to that. in a local area. Imagine rocking up to a tournament with 15 other people all wearing the same t-shirt as you, people that you speak with on a regular basis, people you can share your experience with, or I've got a problem, can you help me out?
Yeah. I'm not like we've got the Facebook group, but we've also got the Discord as well, where people are constantly chatting, constantly talking. Like people when they go to an event, like they'll take pictures when they're there, and also like there's like a lot of people now are starting to write full write-ups of the event. They're like, this is what I did, this is the missions, these are the games I played, this is
what I learned.
This is what I learned, these are the people I played against, or like, this is what I did, this is what I could have done. Or people would just be like, well done, congratulations, or be like, did you think about this when you play the next time? Have you considered doing this? And it's all in-depth discussion.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So what can you expect? Well, we've obviously got the modules that we've just shown you. So each module is really based around a structured way. And as I said earlier, I trained to be a teacher. I've been teaching and coaching for the last 15 years, so I understand the pedagogy of how people learn, and I've put together a course that's really succinct from step 1 to step Z, or step A to step Z, as it were, to become much more confident at the game. So you get those modules, and then within those modules you get lessons. These lessons are very specific, short and sharp, gets to the point, and we really dive deep into one particular area. So you can watch these back, and it's on an app, so you can watch it on your phone. You could be at an event and think, oh, do you know what? I just need to refresh my mind on what Dark Reapers do, because I'm just going up against them. So I'll go to the faction focus. I'll have a quick look at Dark Reapers. Oh, I know what they can do now. I know what question to ask them. From the palm of your hand, all this information. The support, obviously, we answer your questions every week. We go live, me and Joe, every single week. We answer all of your questions. We've also got other coaches in the Discord, like Aaron Kennedy that you've seen, Ben Jones in the chat, Jackie, who I do the podcast with, so many other fantastic coaches that are constantly giving their support. For example, Jake did watch parties all weekend with the stream, helping people out with rules, interactions. We then have our clinics where we have, every week we help you with your list. You put your list in, you justify why you're taking it, and we'll give you 3 things to go away to tweak and change, to make it a little bit more efficient and effective based on the play style you want to achieve. Then we've obviously got the community and success. What sort of success can you expect from the Academy, Joe?
Like I've been doing it when you first started. I was going like 2 wins, 3 losses at a lot of events, sometimes 1 win. Like if I was lucky, kind of thing. I did it for about 3-4 months. Like obviously, like I'm playing with you all the time, talking to the guys on the academy, and after about 12 straight weeks of playtesting and
going through the lessons,
I went very quickly from that to like 3-2,
4-1,
and then 4-1, and now I can do all 5. I'm lucky,
and that's kind of what we're looking for. We're not looking to make you the best player in the world.
No.
We're going to help you go to a tournament knowing you've got a really good chance that you're going to have 5 great games and hopefully go away winning 3 to 4 of those. Maybe to the point where you can go to an RTT and win it. And we've had a few of those success stories very recently. We've had so many students who have been with us for about 4 to 6 months, consistently winning RTTs now. And just getting there knowing that, you know, what we're doing in the academy, providing that we've been in lockdown, they're getting to the table feeling really sharp. So again, that's the sort of success you can have. So when you go to your local club, people go, oh, I can't wait to play Jake. Jake really knows his Ultramarines inside out. I can't wait to play him. I know I'm going to have a great game. I can't wait to play against Joe and his Drukhari. Not, oh, I don't want to play against Joe, because we want to avoid that. So again, it's about winning the game in the right way. Okay, cool. So these are some of the unlockable modules. You can look at this in your own time, but like I said, there's 110 lessons in there. These are some of the modules: how to prepare for a grand tournament, how to deploy your army, winning the primary, the secondaries, how to play in every phase of the game, how to master all the phases, and then some of those like faction focus that we spoke about as well earlier. So the winners, here they are. All 3. So the first one, Kyle. Congratulations. Combat Patrol for you. Next up,
Dallas Smith Dallas,
getting the second prize, which is also
Combat Patrol.
Combat Patrol. And finally, Darren, get a Codex.
You get Codex. But SWAT up. Learn everything that you can. So again, thank you so much for everybody that's registered.
And what you're going to need to do, Kyle, Dallas, and Darren, send us an email. and we'll get those shipped over to you in the next couple of weeks, okay? So, time for questions. Whew. Yeah. Have a little nap while the questions come in.
I've actually got a few already.
Awesome.
Straight off the bat.
No nap then.
No rest for the wicked.
Monster up.
First off, I do think, before anything, I would like to mention, obviously, the amount of gratitude from the chat that I've seen. Obviously, I don't think, from my point of view, obviously, I get to see all the behind-the-scenes stuff, and the amount of work you guys have put in is an absolute... Well, I just say not many people could do it, so thank you for that.
Well, mate.
Well done, Joe.
I'm tired now.
And well done, Steve.
He does all right.
Get your monster in you.
I put a few hours in, yeah.
But yeah, obviously it was fantastic. Main thing I wanted just to cover quickly, just before we go into the more Drukhari-based questions, is actually a really good point from Sean Burkle. He said, is the Academy suitable for someone who's never played before? I've been wanting to play Warhammer for about 20 years, and I've never really had the opportunity to. Would it be something you'd recommend?
Okay, so we've got, first of all, a free course you can take. It's on the website. It's called Learn to Play. Okay? Whiz through that.
Yeah.
That is going to give you the basics. But again, as I said, the Academy was built so that you don't waste time. Like, I created the Academy because it was the course that I would have wanted to study. I love going on courses. I love learning more. I'm a real nerd when it comes to leveling up, as it were.
Yeah.
And I get fascinated with something and I want to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can, and I don't want to waste time. No. You know, it will literally save you so many hours and also money and heartache by going through those lessons, so that you know that when you get to the table, you've got a fairly decent idea. So when you actually start playing, start practicing, number one, you know what units you should have bought and painted, because you know the units that you're going to enjoy. Because if you say to me, Steve, I'm liking the sound of getting stuck in combat like you do, I'm going to help you identify the best combat units that you're going to enjoy playing, okay? If you say to me, Steve, I want a gun line the way Jack plays, I want to be real cagey and cool, we'll help you pick the right units for you to get the most out of them. We'll help you with the right weapon selection. So again, you're not just buying models for the sake of it, painting them, and then realising, actually, they don't really work how I want to. We want to help you get excited about the rules. We want to help you get excited about how to play your models properly. So you can even put bad units that the internet would tell you are trash on the table and do incredibly well with it. We had Jack absolutely clean up at the weekend with his towel against you. We had my Craft World, my 90s Craft World list, which everyone thinks is terrible, absolutely smash it against Jake the other day in his Ultramarines. Like, these lists can do well when you know how to use them, and it's cool. So again, we want to help you get the most out of your models. So we've had people go from never playing before to, I've just played my first tournament and I've, gone 3-2. Yeah. Amazing. So yeah, it's a perfect chance. And there's so many guys getting back into the hobby on the Academy. The Academy's not for those people that want to win at all costs. It's not for those people that are, for example, I don't know, they just want to, they're closed-minded, they don't want to learn. It's for people that maybe 25 to 35, around there's loads of us in there, and around that age group.
Because when you're playing and when you're like going through the Academy and you've not played before, you could be like, cool, I've watched all these lessons, I've learned all these rules, and then what you can do is you can go over to the Tabletop Simulator, go over to Discord, chat to the guys on there, and like the other students will go through the game with you. Yeah. Like they'll be like, I've set up Tabletop Simulator, so here's my army, here's your army, we're going to go through the motions. So you can play games before you actually buy the models. Yeah. And then you know the direction.
And for all those that want to upgrade to the VIP pass, which is where you buy the year up front, you save some money, you also get a one-to-one call with me when you start, so I can help find out exactly where you are. And every single month we do a mentoring call. Yeah. I get all those VIP students on a Zoom call, we have a chat, we go through some of the things they're having struggles with, and at the end I give them some homework. And the last one was, we had 3 people that had never played 40k before. They've learnt loads, so I paired them off, and I gave them the homework by next month to make sure they've all played each other in a 500-point game. I gave them some structure on how to play their first game of 40k. So the next month they come back, cool, we've done that. We've actually got a couple of extra, and I know some guys are already up to playing 2,000 points. Yeah. So again, it's going to be perfect, providing you're willing to listen and learn. Yeah, and you've got to put some work in. It's not going to be just, you don't buy it and all of a sudden you just get filled with knowledge, unfortunately. You've got to put some work in.
I've got a question here. So it is from Omar Helcor.
Okay.
Let's hope we said that one right. He would love to know, what is your opinion on a Dark Technomancer Coven with Talos, Kronos and Reapers as a heavy support, but I've also emailed about this and I will join VT, the Academy.
Awesome, yeah. Like we said, you need to get the practice in with it.
Yeah.
Because you might find that the damage output could be so good, maybe it's too much.
Yeah.
And you might lack mobility or durability.
And with Dark Technomancers, on the roll of a 1 to hit, you take a mortal wound. But if you're a monster or vehicle, you take D3. Yeah. So if you have multiple units of Talos and Kronos all shooting, and also your vehicle, if you roll a 1 and you can't re-roll that, it says you cannot re-roll it. That unit takes D3 mortal wounds. So if you've only got one homunculus who can heal you, you could see things like Talos and Kronos just dropping dead from just shooting.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's quite,
That's on the extreme end.
Yeah,
if
so
you have a bad...
I think if you want to be the best Dark Technomancy Coven player, the Academy will help go through those basics. It's about fundamentals. It's about helping you think critically. So you can then go, do you know what, Steve? Maybe on one of our list clinics or Q&A, Steve, this is the success I'm having. This is the problems I'm having. What would be your recommendation to help me achieve my goal? And again, if I know you just want to play Dark Technomancies because you like the lore or whatever it is about them, cool. I'll help give you some other alternatives. Yeah. Maybe you're struggling to do actions. So maybe including some mandrakes. Maybe you're struggling for a bit of screening. Maybe you're getting move blocked. So again, we can start to piece these things in. So I don't care if you want to play Grot tanks. If that wants to be your army and you want to be the best Grot tank player you possibly can be, we're going to help you do it. Because it doesn't matter what the names are, it doesn't matter what the rules are, it doesn't matter what they look like. At the end of the day, we're looking at 3 things: the rules, the points, and how it plays the mission. When I look at 40k, I just see the matrix. I can probably pick up any army and do all right with it. Just because 40k is 40k. Regardless of whatever this cover is, it doesn't really make too much difference. The fundamentals of the game is always the same. Yeah. Okay? But yeah, you've got the options in the list. It's so strong. The damage output is incredible. But watch out and think critically about the areas that you're coming up into a cropper. For example, on paper, they look incredible. Yeah. But in practice, when you start getting terrain down, line of sight blocking, things that maybe a -1 to hit, that's where experience is going to really help shape your ability to evolve as a player. Okay?
Let me just find another one. Got a very good question from the same person, but regarding more of the Academy more so than anything. Okay. Due to the pandemic, I can't play anywhere, and I don't think this will change in the coming months. How will I apply the lessons learned?
Well, like we said, we've got a great Discord. Yeah. We've got the theoretical games we play every week. I'm razor sharp on my secondary knowledge because of literally those games. But we've obviously got TTS as an option, and we've got a great community that play that. Yeah,
we've got a lot of our students, some of them say, we haven't got another Warhammer player within 20 miles. Yeah. And they said that, doing the Academy over the pandemic has been amazing. It's helped them keep their head on, kept them sane, given them people to talk to.
Motivation to paint and build, to go out and be excited about this incredible hobby. So any Drukhari-based questions? We kind of spoke loads about the Academy. So guys, if you want to sign up, it's completely up to you. Yeah. We'll send you all the links that you need. Consider it. Make sure you do the trial though. Yeah. Yeah. Do the full 14 days, and if you don't like it, then cancel. Yeah.
I'm just having a scroll.
Okay.
Or I may just let it load and see what people say.
Let it load.
Never 20 Cabalites then, in referring to...
Never 20
No, when you were referring to doing your SWAT.
Never say never, but the 20 racks works really well. 20 witches can work really well. You get 1 blaster for every 5 Kabalites in the unit, so that's 4 blasters. And I think it's 1 heavy for every 10, so you could get 2 Dark Lances in there, and then a blast pistol if you want to do that as well. So if you had the Archon and your Black Hearts, you get reroll hits and wounds. You come down and you could really damage something. Like, you could really hurt something and you could screen out. But those 20 Kabalite warriors will die extremely quickly in your next phase.
Yeah, it's a very big point cost of what you're going to lose so fast, and it's the difference between like 20 racks is that they can be quite hard to kill if you can only wound them on a, for example, 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah, well, and they're toughness 4 as well, racks, so they're a really good screen.
And they get a feel no pain. So it's going to take pretty much 80% of an army to clear that, if not a full army of shooting, versus
a squad of aggressors. 3 aggressors.
A stiff fart, and all of a sudden they're gone.
Yeah.
Especially one of yours. Yeah. Gone. Or mine after I've had too much milk.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Yeah. Anyway.
The British on the protein bars.
Oh, gym's open soon.
Yeah.
You can look forward to that.
Great.
I'm just looking at the points cost. So what we're looking at is 8 points. You're looking at 160. Yep. 160 points for the base cost there, plus 2 Dark Lances. So that's 100. You're up to 190 now. And then you've got 4 blasters. So what did I say? 190.
So 230.
230.
And a blast pistol, if you're feeling fancy.
Cool. About 240-ish. Yeah. It's a lot of points to lose. Yeah.
Cool. Next question. I'm going to try and say this name, but it is definitely not going to go very well. Ricardo Rigaro Gomez de Ferres.
Ricardo, yeah.
Any thoughts on Clawed Fiends or beasts in general? Obviously, it wasn't really mentioned.
Clawed Fiends are spicy.
So this was actually one of my favourite things. It's 6 Clawed Fiends, stack in the back line. I think it's 150 points, something like that.
It's not very expensive.
25 points a model.
Yeah.
And they get 10 move. The Beastmaster allows you to advance in charge, right?
Yeah.
Gives you reroll 1s to hit. You hit on 4s. As soon as you take a wound on the Clawed Fiends, you get an extra attack. So you're pumping out 6 attacks a model. Strength 5 minus 2 flat 2 damage. Clawed Fiends for me, if I had the models, I'd put them in.
Yeah. They are like
I would definitely run a unit with them with a Beastmaster.
Yeah, I've never really been inclined to go on the beast side of stuff, but I read the Claw Fiend rules and I was a bit like, I tell you, because what you could do
in Razor Wings are great at engaging all fronts and screening. So
you could put the Clawed Fiends into outflank because you've got up to turn 3 to keep them off the board. And because you can come in on your own table edge into engagement range.
You could do that, yeah.
So if someone's running like Sisters of Battle, for instance, that they want to spend the entire game in your deployment zone, cutting you up. Just slide these guys onto the side of the table like a cat, just
straight on and in. Yeah.
Off they go, kind of thing.
I like them. I do, and I think for their points cost, very punchy. Yeah. And with toughness 5, 4 wounds each. Sat in the backfield till turn 4 onwards, they're going to do all right. For their 150 points, they're trading up all day long. So I love it. Yeah, really rate them.
I've got another question from Sam Berryman. Okay. He says, for a new player, would you recommend one of the All Cabal, Cult or Coven lists or over a Real Space Raid?
Go on, Joe. What would your be real recommendation?
I'd say if you're learning the army, I'd probably say, if you haven't got anything, the Combat Patrol.
What's that about? 600 points?
600 quid, not 600 pounds, 600 points-ish. It's Combat Patrol, so it's your 50 power level, isn't it supposed to be? That is an incredible start. Yeah. Like, Cabal is like, they're not complicated, there's not loads of rules that's kind of twist your mind. And it's Raiders, Venoms, Kabalites, and the Incubi, they're all the core fundamental kind of principles in Drukhari.
I think starting with Cabal is going to be a great start.
Yeah.
Because remember that if you go for a real space raid, you're going to have to include that Archon anyway. So getting used to his movements, his auras, his rerolls, knowing where to position him is super clutch. So getting used to that, like start with the repetitions with the Cabal, and then add in the supplements that you want. So if you want to add in a little bit more shooting, maybe add in another combat patrol box, right? If you want to go for a little bit more combat, go for a little bit of witches. So you can add to it quite comfortably. But personally, I really like the rule of 10. 10 games in first, then make some changes. Because by the time you've got 10 repetitions in, and if it was me, I'd buy 3 of those boxes. Okay? So the rule of 10 basically means if I'm running 3 Ravagers, 3 Raiders, 3 units of Incubi, hopefully over the course of the game, I've moved that unit, rather than just one thing 5 times, I've moved it 15 times. I'm going to get really good at moving Ravagers from one game, so I've moved it 15 times. By the time I've played 10 games, I've moved those units 150 times. I'm going to get real good. So again, when it comes to practice, like with anything, it's a skill. 40k is a skill game. It's not about dice, it's about skill. And it's all about knowing exactly what you can do with your army. And you want to be able to master the skill of the game and understand the repetition of effect. Understand what your units do. So start with Cabal, get 10 games in, add something else in, and develop.
Because if you know how to move a Raider with Incubi in it, you know how to move
a Venom
with Incubi in it. Or if you know how to move a Raider with Incubi in it, you know how to move a Raider with Witches. So once you include those, you already know how they kind of synchronise together.
The movement phase is the most important phase of the game. So get used to it and start with the transports, because that's where you can do majority of the legwork, pun intended, is going to be done in the movement phase.
Cool. Any more questions?
Take a couple more.
Sweet.
What's the time? We'll take a couple more questions.
So we've got a question from MOD.
Okay.
Question: Poison Tongue 10-man Cabalite unit with Splinter Axe wounding on freeze seems really good. Am I just overvaluing it, or am I speaking sense?
The Cabal list that I put into here, the pure Cabal list, would work wonders as Poison Tongue, because there's like a million splinter cannons. You could swap out all the Venoms. You could just put in Raiders, and then you can increase the size of your Cabalite warriors if that's what you wanted to do with Splinter Axe. And it just becomes a dice game then, because you're hitting on freeze, wounding on freeze.
I think the only issue with it is you're going to be great into some matchups, but terrible into others. The fact that there's no minus is an issue. So as soon as you go up against Custodes, they've literally got a 2+ save. You're going to struggle in those matchups without a huge amount of AP. I really like elements of... I don't rate the poison so much, because again, there's a lot of things that you can't be wounded on a 1, 2 or 3, and can't overrides can typically in the game. So you can't be wounded on a 3. So there is those elements as well. Or that, there's Harlequins that -1 to wound. So actually you're back down to 4s again. So there is those elements to it as well. But that being said, the redeploy stratagem is awesome. If I would be tempted to run 3 units of Grotesques of 5 in Raiders that are Poison Tongue, and then I can set my Raiders up like, here's where my Grotesques are going, and then, spend my 3 CPs and redeploy them to the other side of the table, and that's where actually my Grotesques are going, or that's where my Incubi are going. And that would really, fool my opponent. Or with those Ravagers where I can put them here, cool, put all your anti-tank stuff to shoot mine, cool, I'm going to switch them over here. And if I go first, I'm switching over here, and I can really attack those units that you wanted to hide from me because you thought I was going to the other side of the table, but I'm going to switch them over, go to the other side, and now I'm going to deliver that killing blow to those units that are going to put the hurt on the rest of my army. That's why I like Poison Tongue, and it's not really for the poison, it's more for the redeploy.
We've got...
Take one more question.
Right. We've got one, because this has been asked twice. Manic Muncher 79 has said, would a Void Raven bomber be a viable option as a heavy support, specifically on the quotes, choice in a real space raid, and what would it replace, if anything?
So the Void Raven's pretty decent, actually.
It's had a massive buff, because all of its weapons before required a lot of D3 rolling, and they were very inconsistent. Now, it's flat. It's all flat a number of hits. Like we said, really good at picking up units sat on the back line, holding objectives, because that's one thing Drukhari does lack, is that doesn't have anything that ignores line of sight.
Yeah.
So having that plane flying around, picking up units on the back line, if your opponent castles up on an objective, it's got that bomb that it can drop and cause some issues. So it can also scare your opponent away from clumping up on objectives, which makes life easier for wanting to come and clear people off with your small units.
Literally, the real space raid Joe put in earlier, take out those Hellions, put that thing in. It's about the same points probably, and it does a slightly different role. If you feel like you've got enough combat, take the Hellions out, put that thing in.
Those lists aren't the be-all and end-all.
No.
Those are just prime examples of like what a base army would look like. Like, I'm not telling you how to run Drukhari. You'll find a way. You'll find the units you like in Jurassic Park. Life finds a way.
Okay.
Jeff Goldblum there.
Right, wow. And on that bombshell, with Jeff's here, then great, guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this masterclass. Thank you so much. Please consider the Academy if you want to take your learning to that next level. Remember, you can cancel at any time whatsoever. You really can. All you forfeit is your space on the Academy and being in the community, and obviously you won't get your discounts anymore. So yeah, that's all you forfeit. You will only get charged on day 15 if you signed up for the trial period, and the trial period very soon is going to be going away completely. We're going to be moving away from it because it is a lot of admin for us. A lot of admin. So yeah, and if you need any support whatsoever, please let us know. We really hope if you're open-minded, join the Academy. If you want to learn fast, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Okay? But yeah, if you did like this video, give it a like. If you haven't subscribed as well, please subscribe. We really want to hit 20k.
Yeah.
And if you enjoyed it, we've got other masterclasses available you can check out as well, which are all going to be added into the Academy as well. So my Blood Angel one, the 5 pillars, how to write an army list masterclass, they're all going in as well. So if you enjoyed this, there's plenty more too.
Yeah. We'll have more in the future.
Yeah.
For all the armies coming up. So
absolutely. Right, take care guys, and we'll see you, hopefully, in the Academy.
Bye.